Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
Hello. What is happening, everybody?
Hey guys.
Sorry we're running a few minutes late. We had some audio issues and just getting rolling here. So yeah, we are here. It's Gas Masks and Hand Grenades, by the way. Jeff here. We've got, hey, I figured it out. Again, 2 times in a row. We got Serge here from Black Room Secrets with us. And down below, we've got Jimmy, Future Ruins, with us. And by the way, the opening sequence there, the opening intro video was edited by one Mr. Jimmy. Future Ruins did a killer job on it. Really awesome. And I think we're working on something else. We'll see whether that happens or not. We have a full length version of the song that actually we cut about an hour, yeah, a minute and 30 seconds, somewhere in that range, somewhere in that range, because I think the original track's like 2 minutes. So we're looking at expanding it and making it kind of a channel video, I guess, with some expanded footage and some deep dive footage and stuff like that. But Jimmy's got carte blanche to do whatever he wants there and work on it whenever he has free time. So we'll see how that turns out. But guys, we're here tonight to talk about a seminal French black gaze band called Alcest. We've all got our shirts on tonight. We got the memo when I didn't even put a memo out. It's just like, I'm like, man, do we do that thing where you're not supposed to wear?
Well, at least we all have something different from what it looks like. So.
That's true. Yeah, I've got the Kodama. I think yours is Kodama too, right, Serge?
Well, it came out during that tour, right? But
yeah,
this is just,
What's the front of it? Look, what's below the?
No, that's it. It's just the logo.
Oh, that's it. Just
the logo.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Did you guys get that on the live shows or?
Yeah, we saw them headline November 2018, was it?
Yeah, sounds about right. Day
of Darkness Fest, which was kind of an offshoot of the Maryland Death Fest people, I believe. They wanted to do sort of an amalgam of like various artists. So it was like the day we went down, we saw Alcest, we saw Frontline Assembly. Or did we go the whole weekend or just the one day?
No, we were just there for that day. It was a very, very odd lineup.
It was very odd. They had like Earth was there, the band from Seattle, Earth. They had Controlled Bleeding. What was that local band? Do you remember what they were called? Asthma Castle. Yeah, Asthma Castle.
Yeah.
And then we had Frontline and D Krups, I think.
And D Krups, one of the few shows they played at that point here.
Yeah.
For a long time, anyway.
Which I had seen D Krups open for Frontline way back in like 1996 for Hardwire, which was kind of wild. And it was funny because, real quick, as an aside here, I took my my booklet to Hardwired along. I took like 1 or 2 booklets along in case I saw Bill or Reese or whatever, because Reese was back with the band. And it was kind of weird because Jed Simon, who was also in Strapping Young Lad and Zimmer's Hole, was there and he played the show with them. So he did the guitar stuff, like the heavy guitar stuff, which was super cool. But I saw Bill. Actually, I think Serge is like, hey, there's Bill. And I ran over and did the fanboy thing. And in 96, he had signed it, Bill Leave, Philly, 1996. And he did Bill Leave 2018 Baltimore. And he was cool. He was a cool dude. But
yeah. It was not a crowded show. So it was kind of, it was very, it was good for us because we could see the bands very, very well and be close and,
Yeah, you didn't have to worry about being like in a throng of people, and it was nice. And I thought Alcest did a hell of a job. Now, that was my second time seeing them. You said you've seen them a couple times, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think 5 times actually.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At festivals or on their own tours?
No, all here in Denver. Every
Wow.
time. I think I saw them. The first time was the first tour they did. I think they did. They were on to the because they didn't really start touring until the third record,
Yeah.
Voyages of the Soul, and I saw them on that tour. It was a small club. I saw them again open up for Anathema.
I saw that tour too. Which what album was that for? Was that for Shelter?
Yeah, they had just released Shelter,
Okay.
and then I saw them again on the. They came a second time on the Shelter circuit, and then I saw them. I think only once for the Kodama cycle.
Yeah, but that's a tour Serge and I saw him.
Right.
Did you see him any other time, Serge?
No, that was the
Just that one.
Because that was the first time I even like knew the band. I was like,
no, was it really? Oh, I thought you knew him before that.
Okay. I think I listened to the album because they were playing that night, so I went to check them out. But I think until we decided to go to that show, I wasn't really aware of them.
Uh-oh.
So that was that.
Devin is speaking French in the comments. That's not a good sign. That means the Armageddon is nigh or something like that. But anyway,
I'm gonna have to resurrect my high school French. Which
shit, I don't know. Anything. You can correct me on a lot of these pronunciations. And
yeah, we're gonna have fun pronouncing stuff tonight. I actually brought up the Google Translate just in case we need it.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah, well, I actually pulled all the translated titles down for the most part. So yeah, let's get into this. Let's talk about Alcest. They are a French post-black metal band from. Yeah, okay. There's the first one. I'm not gonna get Bagnols-sur-Cizé. I don't know. Cizal. I don't know. Who knows what that is? Bagnols. Anybody know?
Which one are you talking about?
Well, they're from Bagnols.
The place. I have to look up the place.
Check it out. See what you come up with. They were founded and led by Nige, who is Stefan. He began the band in 2000 as a black metal solo project by Nige, then became a trio, but members Agnor and Argoth left the band following the 2001 release of the first demo, leaving Nige the sole member. In 2009, drummer Walter Halter from Le Discret joined Alcest after 8 years with Nige as its sole full member. Since its creation, Alcest has released 6 studio albums and a number of EPs and splits. We did not do the splits. We did I listened to the demo and the Le Secret. However you say it, the secret EP. I know there are. I think how many splits are there? Do you guys know? I don't even remember. 2.
It's not that many.
I didn't think there was that many.
I think there's only one. I mean, I think there was 2 actually.
Yeah,
first
that's what I didn't check those out.
There's 2. Yeah, there's the one you mentioned, Jeff, and then the other ones with Le Discret, which I don't know who they are.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to listen to them.
Yeah, I didn't listen.
I guess they're both shoegazing bands.
Splits are always kind of one of those sort of things, where it's like, do I really feel like digging into them or not? But the band are widely credited with. Okay, I'm sorry. Their fourth album, 2014, Shelter, marked a dramatic shift towards a distinctly shoegaze sound, while their subsequent album, Kodama, marked a return to their earlier black gaze sound. I don't know about that entirely. The band are widely credited with pioneering the black gaze post-black metal genre, particularly with their 2005 EP Les Secret. Alcest. In 2001, the band released a 4-track demo tape entitled Tristesse Havernale on Drakkar Productions, in which Agnor wrote the main riff of the song La Forêt de Cristal, Forest of Crystal Forest, I believe. Not long after the demo was released, the band once again became a one-man entity, with Nige taking Alcest in a more personal direction. Nige, having originally formed Alcest as an outlet to create cold and raw black metal, he moved away from the minimalist approach with a follow-up to Tristesse entitled Les Secret. One thing to be mentioned here quick was that Argoth was on bass and Agnor was on lead guitar. And Agnor, or whatever his name is the dude from Peste Noire. And Peste Noir is one of those bands that we all, some of us, struggle with. I've checked them out. Not really impressed with anything they've done. It's not my kind of thing at all. Agnar, I believe, is what's his name in Peste Noir? Famine, I think it is. I think it's Famine.
Yeah, I've never heard the band either. I've heard of them, and I know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding, their political leanings.
Yeah, a lot of National Socialist stuff and kind of.
I think Nage has gotten a lot of flack for that. I haven't heard anything in a while, but there was a couple of years there where he was getting flack for being associated.
He was very, very young. He was almost like a teenage kid at that point in time. And he broke away from it. He pretty much disavows all that stuff now. So, I think his name's Famine in that.
I mean, for what it's worth, if you look at subject matter of Alcest, under Nige, it's not that.
Oh, not at all. No.
Yeah, not even remotely near there. Yeah.
Which you guys can discuss when we get to the albums. Each one has kind of a sort of a narrative or a journey, I guess. We can discuss that. So, real quick. Yeah, and here's the other thing. In 2007, August 2007, that Tristesse Hibernale demo was re-released by Northern Silence Productions. And I think, if I'm not wrong, I believe that's Miko Aspa's label, right? Pretty sure it is.
Silence, yeah.
Pretty sure it is. And like you said, there's that French band Le Disgrace, which is one of the guys who's in that. So, so let's talk about where we came into the band. Jimmy, how about you go first?
Yeah, well, I came in pretty early. I think I was aware of them. I think I became aware of them back in the day when even Agalloch was not quite a touring entity yet. Like they were doing before they started doing tours, you would always hear about them doing select concerts and shows, mostly in Europe. And I remember there was a very special one that was done, I believe, I don't know if it was Czechoslovakia or no, I think it was Romania actually. And they did it with Alcest. And I remember just reading about the gig and seeing, some stuff about the band and checked them out. And I think at the time, they had just released the second record, and so I had checked them out and, got into them. Actually, it took me a while before I became a full-fledged fan. I really dug the stuff. I never really had any experience with shoegaze music, or.
Oh, really?
I was obviously even in those days, I was kind of not the hugest black metal fan. Black metal was kind of one of those things that came a little bit later for me in a big way, and still is. But those days it wasn't quite, there was only a handful of bands I was really into, and Agalloch I was heavily into, even though they weren't necessarily a black metal band, even though they had a lot of black metal leanings. But same with Alcest. Really dug, the second record, and that's kind of where I got into them. But, it took me, my journey, it took a while for me before I really realized the true, in my opinion, brilliance of the band. And it was after I had seen them once or twice. And, I think this band really requires you to listen to the music. And, in some cases it might just hit you right off the back. But, for me, it took a little bit of time for it to gel before I really got into it. But, but since then, and I've been a huge fan and definitely have become one of my favorite bands.
What year was it that you got into them?
So I guess that would have been, let's see. I mean, the second, the Moon Scale second record. So I've been around 2010. I'd say it wouldn't have been until about 2013 until I really, really became crazy about them.
Yeah, I think Nate said Miko's Northern Heritage. You're right, man. Thanks for correcting me on that. The Northern Silence. That's also Deathlike Silence, Northern Silence. They're all trying to trade on that, weirdness, I think. But Serge, how about you?
Well,
so you were 2018.
About, right? Yeah, that was basically it. And then I listened to Kodama and I was immediately hooked. And then seeing them live, man, what a show! I mean, that was that was a treat.
That was a cool show.
And yeah, it's up my alley for that kind of music. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you this: was when we decided to go to that show, we hadn't seen each other in a while. Actually, at that point, it'd been quite a while since we connected, and I'm trying to remember. That was it was November 20. And you know what's interesting about that day? That day, the right before that show, that day, I'd cut my hair, and that was the last time I got a haircut. Was November, whatever that day was. I think it was a very early part of November. It was like right after October, Halloween, because the night we were there, it was a Saturday night, and there was
people were partying. Halloween stuff.
People were going crazy.
It was a very, very, very odd atmosphere in it.
Yeah, remember the
you got like the
spider thing,
the metal guys hanging out.
Yeah.
And
there was like metal guys, and there was
the techno parties going on.
Industrial dudes. There was some gothy people there. It was weird, But I think what's weird about that is that now I had seen them open for Anathema in 2013, right, Jimmy? Yeah, that was 2013, I think. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
and they were the middle band at the Underground Arts, which I was just at last week. And the weird thing about that band was it was Aaron Turner's wife's project, Mammifer, were opening, and they were this droney, sort of avant-garde, sort of strange intro thing. And then Alcest came out, and I was pretty transfixed. I got to admit, they were fucking amazing live, and we were right there. I was literally right in front of Zero, the other guitar player, and the place was pretty full. It was like as full, I think, as when I went to see Death to All, a couple hundred people there, and boom, no joke, literally when Alcest left the stage, the place was not empty, but damn close to it. Like literally everyone bailed out. Like it was maybe 60 people left to watch Anathema. I felt I felt terrible for those guys. I was like, shit, man, this is. I saw a Voyages show like that where Vector opened for them, and everyone came up from Philly for Vector, and there's Voyages, this fucking historic band, and there's
sometimes that happens, and also especially when the style is different enough where people hear something different, they're like, okay, I'm gonna,
But actually, I think Anathema and Alcest have a
they're a good pairing.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. Like if you're an Anathema fan, I'll figure you have at least a bit of an ear for Alcest, but
it was just very weird. But so I
had a different experience when they came. I mean, because it was a very nice venue in Denver, and I was, Anathema is a huge band for me, and just I'm really glad I got to see that because they broke up, since then. But just the crowd in general was not very big for that show. I mean, it was big enough, but it wasn't a packed house. It was like a half-packed house, which was kind of disappointing because I know that those guys don't tour here very often. But but similar to you,
especially over here, they had a lot of trouble coming over back when they were supposed to open for Blackfield, for Wilson and Wilson's project Blackfield. Something happened with all their visas, and they ended up just being a duo. Remember, Serge? They opened a couple of shows.
It was just them on like acoustics.
On acoustics, it was kind of weird, but it was cool though. It was actually pretty unique.
It was cool, but still, a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, we were all stoked to hear we're here because we're here, and it was just those guys doing.
I mean, they made the best of the
They were good though. And we met the guys afterwards, but so when we went down to the show in Baltimore, I wasn't aware. I thought you'd known about them for a while. I thought you had, listened to a bunch of their albums, but I wasn't aware that was pretty much a new experience for me.
No, it was very much. Again, I heard Kodama because I was like, well, I should probably, listen to what I'm about to see. Because I remember when we first, thought about it, I was like, my main reason for going was Frontline.
And that's right. Yeah.
And then I saw, I was like, and then Earth and Decrub. So I was like, that's kind of interesting. So,
it was an interesting, and if you remember, the next night after that was Neurosis and Boris on Sunday. And as it turned out, wait a minute. I think I'm confusing. I might be confusing them. Never mind. Because I know Boris and Neurosis played maybe the next year after that in 19, and I ended up going down to see Boris the night before.
I think
Philly. That's what it was. But so for me, I knew about these guys thanks to John Comiskey. John mentioned, hey man, you might, because he knows my taste in black metal, and in that I'm very picky in black metal. I like some of the OGs, I like the Enslaved, I like the more proggy stuff, but I'm not a big fan of, Mayhem and some of the stuff. I'm just not into that raw black metal at all. Can't stand it mostly.
Same.
And
I'm very much into specific, like usually kind of hybrid black metal.
Right.
Whether it's atmospheric or
right,
or whatever.
Which you get a lot with Alcest.
Typical.
Which you get a lot with Alcest. You get the
atmosphere for sure. I mean, I would consider Alcest only very tangentially black metal.
Very, very much.
They'll occasionally have a black metal element, but it's not what I would call black metal music.
Well, pretty much from Souvenirs on, they kind of shed that. Well, actually, the Secret too, which we're going to get into in a sec. But when I got into them, it would have been, I saw them in 13. I did not get Shelter, but right after that, I picked up Souvenirs, Moonscales, and the Voyages. So I got them all at one time. And there for a while, man, I listened to that stuff pretty religiously. I was really, really into it. And then when Kodama came out in 16, then I ended up, grabbing that. And, I don't know how I missed Shelter. I just missed it. I don't know why. And we'll get to the last one here in a little bit. But, yeah, so that's kind of the background story. I guess Nate was asking, here are the guys' thoughts on where to start with this band. Well, that'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure what to tell you there. Because a lot of it, okay, this is going to sound really negative. It's going to start right out of the gate. I'm going to sound negative, and I don't want it to be that way. But with the exception of the demo, which is totally, completely different from anything like they sound like, and maybe a little bit of less secret, you kind of could come in anywhere and you're not necessarily going to be wrong. You're not going to be put off, okay? The main problem that I have with these guys as a whole in the end, which I'll tie up at the end, is there's a bit of a formulaic sort of vibe to it. That's just my, I like it. Don't get me wrong.
Sometimes it becomes like, when I was doing my notes, I'm like, sometimes it's a little bit overlapping. And,
yes. Hard to tell a track from another track in a lot of times. And,
like I mentioned this with like Ozric Tentacles, right?
Right.
Like
Same
sometimes
thing.
Like one album can replace another.
Same thing.
But just like with them, it's not a bad thing because it's all good. It's just
I mean, if I had to choose something, like if somebody asked me what song should I listen to, I would say I would pick, to me, the most beautiful song that I think they've ever written was Le Voyages delay, the title track on the third record. I would listen to that song, and if you don't like that song, I don't know how you don't even like you. I don't even know how you don't like music, but that song really, I think, encapsulates the sheer emotional, just.
Yeah, or Beings of Light is really kind of in there.
Yeah, I mean, but you could pick any of the first three. I mean, if you were going to pick a record, maybe the second Moonscales might be a good one because that's a good balance of stuff.
And the newer stuff, I think the title track to Kodama is pretty amazing.
Sure.
That's a pretty fucking killer track. Yeah. But
I always say how I'm partial to albums that I come to band on, and I think when I came in, so I'm still partial to that.
I think they're one of those kind of bands, and we'll get into it when we get into the albums in 1 minute here, I promise, where you can set the needle down anywhere on the album and listen to it all the way out while you're working out, while you're cooking dinner,
editing photos.
Editing photos. I'm going to go there, having sex. You could do it then, too. I mean, seriously, seriously, it's one of those really... it's one of those oral experiences where you don't necessarily have to be focused in on the details. It's washy, it's airy, it's summery, it's fall, it's autumnal, it's just very beautiful and cocoonish, but to a degree, each track it's hard to differentiate. That would be my thing. So now everybody's like, fuck it, we don't need to watch the rest of the show. But so But yeah, I mean that's kind of where I come from an overall thing, and I'll come back to that theme in a little bit. But let's go ahead and but just to tie up real quick, yeah. So I grabbed those three and then grabbed Kodama. I can't find mine though. I had them out and I can't find them. So Jimmy's probably going to show everything. I think we didn't make everybody go grab their stuff. Which ones you have, Serge, real quick, or you don't even know?
Yeah, I know I start, like, obviously I start with Kodama. I got the last one, and I went back for a couple of the earlier ones, but yeah, I didn't pull them out.
Okay, that's cool. All right, well then we'll let Jimmy go first since he's got the goods to show. Before we do that though, you don't have the demo, right?
No, and I'm not even sure. Like you mentioned, it was re-released. But
well, that's what it says. But the more I think about that, I'm wondering if they meant Le Secret on that. It's a it's from Wikipedia.
Yeah. So by the demo, you mean the
black metal one, the raw one?
Yeah, so that's not even like on Spotify or anything. So it's
yeah. I'm gonna play a little
on YouTube.
Of it. I'm actually gonna play a little of it, just so you get a feel for it. It's called, I don't know, Tristessa Hivernale.
Yeah,
Hivernal. So is that like hibernation, maybe, or
Tristesse Hivernal? I think.
Wonder what the translation on that is.
Hiver is winter. I remember that much.
Okay, that makes sense. Which, by the way, Nige's nom de plume.
Wintry Sadness is the translation.
Wintry Sadness. Okay, that's actually a pretty cool title. And then you got 4 more other tracks here. Let's do. I don't think this will come back to haunt me. Can you guys hear it? Yes. No.
MCA Takedown.
Looks like there were 300 cassette copies. Can you guys hear it?
Yep.
Yeah, I hear it. Sort of. I mean,
yeah, unfortunately, I cannot play videos and hear them. It's the most bizarre thing. I guess because I have a.
I mean, but you get the idea. It's black metal.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like
Go ahead.
I don't want to talk over you.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty raw. It's pretty unrefined. The drums are barely audible. The guitars are that buzzsaw, minor key thing. And man, Nija's screams are kind of unrelenting. They're not the kind of black metal that I enjoy as far as listening to the vocals. Now, granted, he does still shriek a lot on the upcoming albums, but not. It becomes
not
a
like
more controlled thing, right?
You want to.
Yeah, when you listen to this, you can't even believe it's the same band.
Yeah, it's like.
And honestly, is it?
Well,
yeah, it really isn't. I'm surprised he even called it because it's interesting. I mean, they released, the demo is dated 2001, and they didn't release, The Secret until 4 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say, kind of on the demo. I mean, I've only listened to it a couple times, but I think it's an interesting kind of artifact for Nage because I mean, he was so young, and I think that it does show, while like Serge was saying, it's like black metal is almost tangential when it comes to this band. It's not, there's an element of it, but it's not very
the main focus.
It's not very prevalent. And but I think that the demo kind of shows you that the spirit of black metal, I think, is still kind of important and sound. And and the demo kind of shows you that he was sort of, because it's basically just, it sounds like raw Norwegian black metal, kind of just, with some atmospherics in there. It's not. I don't know if he ever really had the intention to go, forward as a black metal band, or if he had some kind of revelation after after doing this. But I'd say like a lot of bands' early demos, it's an interesting little, glimpse into his head as a kid, as a young kid, finding his musical voice and really just going in a completely different direction from there. Yeah. Because I mean, this kind of stuff obviously is a dime a dozen in those days, and you could continue to. I mean, there's bands, obviously a lot of great bands that can do this style of stuff. would he have been good, really great at this sort of thing? I don't know, because it's so raw and so early in his probably musical world that
he's only 37. So what was he then? Shit, he was
like 16, I think, or
15, 16, 17 years old. And
I mean, you can't even judge or criticize anything. It's like listening to Steven Wilson's, like early tapes when he was like 16. You can't judge. So to me, that's I mean, I guess it's an interesting artifact of a band, but in terms of an early inspiration, but it has nothing to do with what the band is, in my opinion.
No, and I mean, you can look at a lot of these different bands. You can look at a band like Enslaved, where their early demos, Nema and Yggdrasil or whatever. Yggdrasil. They don't hint much at what's to come. Not really. And
it's like listening to their first Ministry album, which apparently they're re-recording, which is funny.
Which was a pop album, kind of, right? It was kind of poppy, right? It was dancing.
It's a synth pop album, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're gonna re-record half of it, like with their actual style.
Well, you look at like Dark Throne, their first album. I've never heard their demos. I've never saw them out. But Dark Throne's first album is a full-on death metal album, and it's actually a really good album. And then they do Blaze, and then they devolve into this raw, no offense, Cosmic Pallbearer, Andrew. I'm not a raw black metal dude. I just don't get it. And what's really funny is nowadays with the guys like, what's the big raging band right now everybody wants to find in black metal? It's releasing all these limited edition things. Lamp of Murmur.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's chasing this shit. It's like, I've heard it. It's okay. It sounds like every other black metal band from that year to me. And it's like, what is the big deal to sound the lo-fi thing? I just don't get it, particularly now in the days and age where, but it's supposed to be cult. It's supposed to be, I don't know.
I mean, sometimes you have this push against the mainstream where everybody's going this way. You have to insist on going that way. But I personally can't stand lo-fi. I can't. I want good production.
Yeah, so do I. It's a groupthink thing in a lot of ways. It's the whole, gatekeeper thing. I'm not going to name names, but I think you can probably intuit who I'm thinking of right here, where it's just this whole gatekeeping, raw, uncompromising, hateful, and misanthropic. It's like, get the fuck out of here, man.
Well, I would say that there is some raw stuff that's done well. Now, and there's a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm a huge black metal fan, but I have certain things that I like from black metal, and it has to meet certain criteria for me to really be into it. You know what I mean? Mainly atmospheric and melody and things like that. I'm not really into just straight raw, stuff. That said, there's like, I like the early Dark Throne records because I think that those records do have a real unique atmosphere to them, even though they're really lo-fi. But I mean, there's, I can totally understand because like it took me a long time before I even appreciated those records. And for the most part, either, you might like warm up to it at some point in your life, or you may just be like, you either love it or hate it kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, and the problem is that it ends up getting stagnated in terms of like so many bands. And then there's that, what you guys are talking about, like, oh, this has to be the standard, which is stupid. I mean, there's a lot of really greatly produced black metal out there, doesn't meet the sort of, the lo-fi standard. And those are the bands that probably get shit on the most by the people that you're talking about, you know what I mean? Which is stupid,
Well, here's the funny thing. This dude right here, Mr. Jimmy, it ain't who you think I'm talking about, bro. I guarantee that. It's not who you think I'm talking about. I don't fucking think about that dude 98% of every waking moment of my life. It's somebody else that talks about raw and uncompromising and hateful and blah, 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 and whatever, man. I mean, Andrew said it best right here. It's like, what I don't get about Lamp of Murmur and that sort of raw black metal is it's trendy and artificially raw, and that's exactly the case.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, you could forgive, like, when Alcest was, whatever, that demo, right? When they're like teenagers, whatever. I was in that band. We were recording in our basement, and it sounds like shit. That's the situation.
Yeah.
But right now, even a home studio, everybody has access to be able to record it pretty well.
Really high quality demos. Yep.
You have no excuse for producing shitty sound, except if you're being lazy or if you're being an asshole, in my opinion.
I mean, dude, I have four tracks. I have probably about 15 4-track demos, which are me noodling on the guitar, chord progressions, acoustic guitars with vocals, where I've bounced tracks to get, and some of them are hysterically funny, man. Some of them are just like, whoa, I would never really want anyone to hear them, not like have them in a collection of tunes. I might play them for you guys for shits and giggles, but I would never just play them. You know what I mean? In fact, maybe I'll do that at the end here, but I have a track that I put on a collection that's a 12-minute prog epic, and it's terrible. You remember that song, Serge? October Skies. There's some cool ideas there, but it's terrible because I was limited in what I could do with it at the time. I didn't know computers were just starting to be a thing, and I didn't know enough about them to be dangerous. And so, yeah. And by the way, it is not J-Dog. That is not who I'm talking about. So there's that. So I wouldn't let him infect my thought process like that. But yeah, let's get moving on. Evil Feast is pretty cool. I actually, the only thing I don't like about Evil Feast is that the keyboards are so over the top, new sounding and plug-in sounding that, but I do dig them. They're kind of cool. They're kind of interesting stuff. All right, well, let's get moving on. So we got real quick on the demo. It came out in 2001 on Drakkar.
You can switch to you, by the way.
Yeah,
I feel like
I always do that shit. I guess maybe I should just, since it's just us, we'll go that way. There it is. English, Wintry Sadness. It is a demo released by Alcest, released in 01 on Drakkar. It's only released with guitars Agnor and bass Argoth from Peste Noire. It remains the band's only release as a trio, unlike the following albums, which would be influenced by shoegaze and post-metal. Its Tristesse is oriented towards traditional black metal with a raw sound and harsh vocals. It was later later re-released by Northern Silence in August of 2007 as a split release with another French band Angmar under the name Autre Funérailles du Monde, which is the Aux Funérailles du Monde. There's 4 tracks on it. It's about 21 minutes long. For me, Tristesse pretty much sounds like the cover art looks. Raw and mostly lo-fi amateur stuff with some opethy acoustic sections. The drums are barely audible. Shrieking vocals are very much in the Varg Bertram sort of vibe. Very much in the Bertram vibe. Crystal Forest, again, lo-fi as fuck. The screams are just over the top and gnarly, but not in a good way. Drums, bass, barely audible, the same minor chords and acoustic interlude type stuff, repetitive. In Memory, probably the best overall song on the demo, but that isn't saying much, to be honest. The riffs were interesting to a degree, and Death Glides Over has the Peste Noire douche soloing on this, as Nige was once a very early member of Peste Noire. Song's okay, but I've heard this crap a million times before in black metal demos and early Bertram and Mayhem albums, which sound better, to be honest. At least here, I hear the drums on this one. Not much for me here. It's all this black metal by numbers crap with mostly shrieking high vocals and the usual black metal tropes for chords and overall sound. 3 out of 10. I just hate lo-fi black metal. That's just me. So I guess I'm just not Cavolt. Anybody else want to throw some stuff out there on this one?
No, I've already said.
I honestly, I just couldn't make all the way through. It's just not my thing.
I didn't think you would. Yeah. When I told you to check that out, I was thinking exactly that. I'm like, there's no way Serge is listening to this whole thing.
Yeah. I tried. Sorry.
All right. So, Jimmy, you skipped it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody unless you're like a huge fan, or if you're really big into, raw black metal, whatever. A lot of people, that are into that kind of thing, view that as sort of a classic in terms. Yeah,
I mean, if you're really into that lo-fi black metal, it's run of the mill stuff.
Yeah, you might. It's pretty run of the mill. I mean, there's some little flourishes here and there that kind of hint at his sort of atmospheric sense, but yeah, it's not something I would seek out. If I was able to obtain a copy, I'd probably pick one up just to be a completist. But it's it's not something I would really.
It is a completist release. That's what it is.
Yeah.
For sure. But I would say that if you are a huge fan and you hadn't heard it, it's an interesting glimpse into what he was doing as a kid, before he, and then it doesn't sound anything like what they would ever do in the future because they never really, had
Went back there. We never went back.
But it does kind of show that I think that he does view, black metal as a huge influence on what he would do, even if it doesn't come real heavy in the music. It's still, there's something about the feeling of Alcest that there are certain black metal that evokes a similar, vibe. That's it. But
well, it's out there. I mean, if you really want to dig into it, Wade, it's out there, man. It's easily findable.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can get it on YouTube.
9 million leaks of it out there. All right, so next up we've got Le Secret, which came out May 1st, 2005 on Drakkar again. It's Alcest's first release with creator Nij as a sole member. You got the reissue then, right?
Yeah, this is that
2014, 15,
I think.
15?
Yeah, from Prophecy.
Real quick on that one. The EP is considered the origin of black gaze, and the band are widely credited with pioneering the genre. The band's sound is defined by a very atmospheric and uplifting tone. It's primarily described as post-metal with shoegaze and a little bit of black metal. From Le Secret to Shelter, the band drew on both black metal bands like Vortsum and Ulver, as well as shoegaze bands like Slowdive to create a huge wall of sound effect using abrasive scream vocals, blast beat sections, as well as fast tremolo pick guitar passages. Their 2014 album, Shelter, was a significant departure from this sound, a purely shoegaze album entirely eliminating any traces of the metal influence. However, their following album, Kodama, was a partial return to their earlier stuff. So go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, if you compare this to the demo, it's like light and day. And obviously he took the 4 years it took to do The Secret to kind of really showcase what he was going for. But I also think he if you read some of the interviews and some of the liner notes in here, he talks a lot about his whole idea of this band and what the music is supposed to represent. And, he talks about how as a young child, he had sort of had these sort of, dreams and like feelings like, when awake, that he remembered some place that existed that isn't of this earthly plane, and place in his mind, but place that he felt he had been to before. It was sort of like a fairy world, I guess he sort of described it, just this sort of fantasy world where everything was light, warm, peaceful, beautiful, and with none of the modern plagues of society is today. And I think that kind of speaks to sort of his escape from the reality of the world today. And I think that really kind of shines through in his music as well. And you can tell right off the bat with this EP. This recording obviously did the 2005. It's 2 songs. Then they actually re-recorded these 2 songs in 2011, or no,
2013, isn't it?
13, yeah. No, it's 11, 2011.
Is it 11? Okay.
So there's 2 songs, The Secret and Elevation. And right off the bat, this sounds like what you're going to get, going forward for the next few albums. He very distinctly created the sound early on and would continue. It's not like you talked about how things started to kind of fill a certain kind of template, but right off the bat, you get kind of what he's going for. The first track alone, it's all clean vocals, it's very shoegazy and just good acoustic guitars, longer tracks, whereas Elevation brings a little bit of more of that black metal influence, where he actually starts doing his black metal shrieks. I've always said I think Nij has one of the best black metal shrieks I've ever heard. It's something even today, with even his most recent stuff, is just his black metal voice is it's just so much ballsier than
he refined it. He refined it a lot.
And I've always found that really kind of profound because, I think he sounds even more, just intense than some of the most intense black metal bands you would sound when he actually screams, compared to his clean vocal, which is actually, such a light and day difference in terms of, his clean vocal has sort of a hesitation to it in a way. It's not in your face. It's very kind of like timid and
it's
careful.
It's a little more, in my opinion, it's a lot more shrieky, as opposed to it's got this sort of pain shriek to it, Whereas a lot of the guys like Grutlow or Abath or something like that, they're more that that raspy, gritty thing. Whereas Attila is very fucking theatrical. Nij is more like, and a lot of it has to do with how they mix the vocals. But he's got that kind of almost like, I can't even do it because it's way out of my range. But he's just got that high, like it's just
it's the shriek. It's kind of like
the shriek. It's like a banshee howl,
like the otherworldly kind of black metal. Whereas some black metal bands have different styles, like you're talking about. Like that's kind of what he was going for. I think was kind of the more otherworldly. But but what's really interesting too about the sound of this, there's kind of like a church-like quality to like some of the melodies, like like a hymnal type of thing, to where it sounds like you would hear it like in a chapel. Not a just some sort of chapel of worship or something like that. It doesn't have to be, it's just his own, world of worship or something.
Yeah.
Very beautiful and ethereal kind of sound, and great first effort.
What you got, Serge? What's your thoughts on this one? Did you check this one out?
I did, although I didn't take notes. But I mean, from what I remember, I mean, it's Alcest. That's what you're going to get, and there's something unique about Alcest. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but like Jimmy said, it can be kind of a spiritual band, not necessarily in a religious sense, but like in a true spiritual sense. It does take you to a different place, which as Jimmy mentioned. I mean, the title of the next album, right, is the Memories of Another World. So that's
right.
I guess that's a theme he continues throughout, but it does feel that way. Like this is the band, in my opinion, that you have to put on headphones and
it's very nuanced. And,
I mean, you can listen to it in the background and it's fine, but
right.
But if you really like this is like a band you can trip to, and by trip I don't mean drugs. I just mean by listening to it.
Yeah, really takes you somewhere else.
Well, it's very evocative. That's a word I'm going to use on a couple of these upcoming albums. This is according to Michael Nelson from, I don't know where he was from. I'm not sure which. This thing I got from Wiki, but it says Nij was a pioneer of the fusion of genre of black gaze, classifying Le Secret as the birth of black gaze. He noted that it sounded like, and this is really almost perfect, it sounded like a mixture of Cocteau Twins and Burzum. And that's really right on, because it's got that melancholy, ethereal, almost otherworldly, like we said, otherworldly vibe of the Cocteau Twins.
It probably helps that he sings in French and you don't think about
right. You don't really know what he's saying.
No,
sure,
it might as well be. I forgot the term for that.
Glossalia.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, it's like a made up language that Liz Fraser, or no wait, did I get that right? Liz Fraser, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I always get her and Dead Can Dance mixed up.
Lisa Gerard but she also uses that. Yeah.
Gerard's in Dead Can Dance and Liz Fraser's. Yeah. It's very Liz Fraser-ish. You even though he is singing in French, because we're not native speakers, we're not really sure what he's saying. So it just sounds very beautiful. And like Liz Fraser, she does this, like on the song Sugar Hiccup. It's like, it's almost like using the language as a metaphorical way to move through the song. You're listening more to the vocal melodies than you are the actual words. And that's what
I think actually did use Glossalia on at least one track later on. I can't remember.
Yeah, Tiranaga, I think it is. Yeah. So yeah, that works pretty good. Nij wrote the title track when he was 17. Considers it's the first song that he wrote for Alcest proper, because he doesn't really rate the Tristesse material. The lyrics on Elevations come from an eponymous poem by Charles Baudelaire from 1857 volume of poetry, Les Fleurs de Mal, Flowers of Mal, evil, maybe mal, evil.
Yeah, I mean bad, evil.
Or death, maybe. The album was re-recorded and re-released in 2011 with the involvement of Winterhalter, because initially Nij did all of it. So Le Secret.
And I'd also say that the re-recording sounds a lot better than the original. The original is a little bit lo-fi. The re-recording sounds more like modern kind of production.
Right. That they do. Yeah, that was a good move. And they packaged it with the old tracks too, which is
so you get both if you ever buy it. Prophecy released it, so it gives you both versions of it. So
yeah, so you got Le Secret's cool long intro, no vocals until about 5 minutes in, which is something you got to get used to if you're going to get into Alcest. There's a lot of songs like that. Some songs they go for 5 minutes and then they don't sing for the last 5 minutes. But that has it's soft, almost unintelligible, clean vocals slide into long, chorusy chords, and there are some blast beats. It's an okay track. It's a little long it's kind of repetitive until the final 3 minutes, which is really, really cool, which is where I really see the future Alcest going on that track. Elevation, cool synthy intro, very ethereal and breathy. Then into some crazy blast beats, and Nij shrieking like mad into a more slowed down, droning set of chords, and then more shrieks. It's a pretty killer track, man. Elevation's pretty wicked. To be honest, even has a cool tapping section in the guitar playing there. The EP still has a bit of a raw sound, like Nij was fleshing out the direction he wanted to take his songwriting in. And he had kind of gone as far as the black metal elements would mix with the slow divey, My Bloody Valentine ride type influences. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It was definitely, after hearing the debut demo, I never would have thought that's what we would have gotten next. So, and it was a good move, and I think it's paid off for him a lot, because if he had stayed with the demoed type material, he'd just be another in a long line of black metal bands that, probably would never, he'd be selling.
He'd be forgettable.
Yeah, he'd be forgettable, and he'd be selling 50 copies off his Bandcamp site. So, let's see. Next one, Jimmy. So we got Souvenirs
Autre monde.
Autre monde. So, what is it again? Something from the other world?
Memories of another world. Yeah.
Memories of another world, right? Which ties in a lot with that. And this came out, by the way, on Prophecy Productions. Was produced by Martin Kohler. Came out August 8th, 2007. Basically, it's the first full length, and the title refers to the meaning behind the music of Alcest. It's as its leader and songwriter Nij sees it as a journey through his memories of a distant world he has been in contact with. It's the last release in which Nij plays all the instruments, as he was joined by drummer Winterhalter on subsequent releases. So go ahead, Jim.
I mean, what can I say? I mean, this album is very, very special to me. I didn't really discover it until I really got into the band, which was after maybe the third record, and kind of going back to it and realizing just how amazing the songwriting is on here. Alcest as good as their songs are, I mean, in terms of the songwriting, because, as we're going to find, they stick to a very similar template. And so it's going to be as strong as the melodies are, the juxtaposition between, the soft and the harsh. It's interesting that, for the first full length, being that he's going to continue, with a sort of black metal element to the band. There's literally no black metal on this whatsoever. There's no shrieks, nothing. Nope. It's all vocals. Interesting that he had the secret which hinted at that, and then he just put this out, which was completely just a side beat. I would almost go as far to say as this is more just a shoegaze record.
Yep.
It does have some heavier parts here and there, but it's and you guys probably hear this from me all the time, but whenever Jeff has me on deep dives, it's usually bands that I consider, 10 out of, this is a perfect 10 out of 10 record. I would not change a note on this. Just from start to finish, every single song. The title track, he still plays live pretty often. But I think this is really a beautiful glimpse into his sort of other world. And I really feel that when I listen to it. I put this on a lot when I'm camping, at the fire. There's certain moments here that will just, Alcest is very much a goosebump band. There's moments.
What band?
A goosebump, yeah.
Oh,
And like,
okay, yeah.
you know, like my wife likes to refer to it as like they have those moments that are just time stoppers, you know. And there's a lot of time stopping moments on this to where you just have to sit there and just take it in and be like, oh my god, that's just so perfect. Just, you know, it just grabs you. And I think that this album has quite a few moments of that. I also got this is the artwork. I just love that artwork. It's so simple. It's so effective. Just a little girl. I always thought she was like playing a flute, but if you look at it closer, it almost looks like it's a piece of hay that she's chewing on. So
yeah, I always thought it was a flute. I'm like, but there's no flute on this album.
yeah. You look at it close, it looks like it's just like a stick, like a
piece of hay
that she's chewing on. So it kind of like, you know, evokes either an idea, but I don't know. It just kind of it sells the whole childlike quality of his memories in this other world. That maybe this is kind of the beginning, you know, where you look at it from a child's perspective, and I think that that's kind of what the album does, because it's very simple. It's not you know, as we're going to go through the catalog, you know, these are, you know, it's only 6 tracks. It's not long at all, and you know, by the end of the album, you kind of get, and you often get this in each of the albums, is it's a journey, you know, and it's like by the end of the record on Turn on Og, it's like you kind of reach this the gates of the pearly, you know, world that he's put together. And I also got the so ever since they were on Prophecy Records, and they've been doing these 10-year anniversary re-releases where they repress the vinyl, but they did a different cover art.
Damn, bro, you went hard.
Yeah, well, I'm such a huge fan. It's like that's what the sort of thing. But they do a really
those are really cool looking.
Yeah,
that looks awesome.
I mean, it's full of pictures
awesome.
that aren't in the original. You
Shit,
know,
I wish well, you know.
And there's a lot of liner notes and a lot of him just writing about his thoughts, and it's really worth getting. You know, just
does that one have any bonus material on it? Or is it have one track?
This one's just the one track. No, this is just the 6 tracks.
Just
this doesn't have any of the bonus.
But I thought, wasn't there one that has one additional track? I might be wrong about that.
That's a different album.
Yeah, it's a different one later. Yep.
But like, you know, like but it's worth getting, just if you're a huge fan like me. Like I don't tend to buy like multiple pressings, but I'm happy just to have the vinyl and then this, like I said, because it's like a book, you know, that you buy. Yeah. It's got a lot more information. But yeah, dude, just like, and the fact that he performed everything on here pretty much. I mean, he even did the drums, and he's not a bad drummer at all. He just needed to get a new drummer. It's kind of like reminds me of Agalloch when Hom was drumming, even though Hom wasn't that great of a drummer. But man, this is the sound, like just like right in the intro, the first track when that acoustic break comes in, it has that really just amazing quality to the guitar sound. You know, it's just so like it's got the reverberation, and you know, it's like you use like this acoustic guitar from another world or something. It just draws you in. You hear the flute, you know, you hear the children kind of laughing in the background. It's so effective, man, to like draw you in to his world. And so it's a wonderful first, you know, full length effort for this band. And man, this is one of those desert island albums, you know, that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life for sure.
Nice. Yeah, those I'm kind of a sucker for those media books, man. Those hardback ones, like Esoteric just put out most of their catalog on those with all kind of beefed up, you know, artwork, and it's like thankfully Greg sent me a bunch of them out of the kindness of his heart.
Oh, nice.
What's that one? Well, that's just
it's still it's still there. I was just putting it up so people can.
How about you, Serge? What you got on Les Souvenirs?
So I mean, yeah, I think that's a lot of what Jimmy said, but it's actually, I think, one of their more has a bit more variety on the record, even though it doesn't have any of the, you know, the black metal sections. But you can kind of hear a little bit of different inspirations. Like I felt like the first track has a bit of a proggy vibe. Le Ari, or you know, the irises, you know, it has a bit of like that post rock feel, which does kind of appear elsewhere with Alcest. I mean, you can arguably say it's a bit post-rocky in general. You know, the second track, the title track, that first section reminded me of just a little bit of Opeth. Just the way that guitar went. And then like the last one, the Tier Non O, which I guess is an Irish vein. That has like folky elements, which doesn't really appear elsewhere in their catalog. And got Audrey Sylvain on vocals on the Sur l'autre rive, je l'attendrai.
On the other shore, I will wait for you.
Yeah, so I think there's one other track later on where he had guest vocals. It works. I do like this one, although I don't know the singer. I guess she was involved in some other bands I never heard of. So, but generally beautiful album. If there's only one criticism I have, it has just that slight feel of the one-man black metal project where, like, the guy plays everything, and there's just a little bit of sacrifice in quality in terms of, for me, mainly like bass and drums. And I feel later on when they actually get, other people to actually play those instruments, there's a little bit of an improvement in how they sound.
Well, yeah, I think that doing all the instruments was probably, you got to get a good bedrock of drums down. And I don't notice anything. Man, I don't know what's going on with my throat here. I don't notice anything exceptional about the drumming, and I don't notice anything that's really stands out, i.e., oh man, this is terrible. It just sounds like
when Whitehall takes over, there is an improvement, just comparison.
Oh, it's a major improvement, yeah. And that may allow Nij to kind of focus on the guitars, the vocals, and the bass playing, because from what I understand, though, he's always done the bass playing I don't think the other guy plays bass in the studio. I think he just plays live.
He does later on. No, he's like, I think by the fourth album, he was doing that studio bass.
He is?
He was their live bassist, and then he's credited anyway, so
I didn't. Oh, he's in the liner notes. He is, because I didn't see that on Wiki at all.
Yeah,
Wiki could be wrong.
No, it's on Wiki too. But anyway, I mean, I don't.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. You might be right. Maybe you're right about that. Maybe by Shelter he did do some studio stuff, but
I know he started as just a live player. But I think at least according to the info,
kind of like the Opeth thing, Back in the early days, Mike was on My Arms Your Hearse. Mike did rhythms, leads, vocals, layering, production.
It's a lot. It's a lot,
and
for
the bass
one
playing.
person to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's an amazing album for basically one single person to put together. I mean, that's just insane if you think about it.
All right. And Mario was saying that your car was a Nazi label, or put out NSBM Nazi. Yeah, Argo Slint. There you go. That's always good to be on a label that Argo Slint's on. Yeah. I think Nij was probably highly aware of the association and probably was like, man, I gotta get off this label as quick as I can. So probably why he didn't go crazy with doing stuff with, anything with the demo or anything. Just wanted to let that lie where it was. All right, for me, I don't know if you got. Well, Jimmy gave a 10 out of 10. If you had to rate that, Serge, or don't you like doing that? I forgot.
I'm gonna say 8 out of 10 personally.
Okay, you and I are on the same tack there. I totally get where Jimmy got into it around then and was a connection. I think it's a beautiful album. There's, that Emerald has that nice long intro of washy, heavy chorus, suspended chords. All the little open note arpeggios, lots of clean vocals, pretty nice uplifting track. Dig that one a lot. Memories from Another World, a mellow, almost Radiohead-ish vibe, weirdly, like maybe In Rainbows sort of thing there. Or maybe a little bit of, not Kid A, what's the other one? Amnesiac, maybe. With metal vibes and clean vocals, which aren't great still. He's finding his clean voice, I think, on this album. Very explosions in the sky, man. Very explosions in the sky. And someone else mentioned a band too that I forgot. I don't know if I mentioned them or not. Was it Mario? So, Wade mentioned Sigur Rós. Really, really right in the nut on that, because Sigur Rós was that band with Adjutus Brumton. I remember when that came out. I have an OG copy of that, where it was just like there was just nothing to explain how they sounded. They just sounded otherworldly, and you can hear their influence on Steven Wilson, which I'm going to mention him in a track coming up here, because it sounds like Neej might have been listening to Deadwing. Yeah, I mean, just very ethereal. And that Jonesy, if I'm not correct, was he singing in Icelandic, or did he have his own? I think he had his own language too.
I thought it was Icelandic. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think the for me, like, a big comparison to Sigur Rós is just how beautiful the clean vocals are.
Yeah,
because when you compare Alcest to other post-rocky bands or even shoegazy bands, there's just not many that have his clean vocals. They're so damn pretty.
Super ethereal, yeah. And also, I think Deaf Heaven stole a lot from Alcest. There's no question that Deaf Heaven ripped them off completely. Iris, Irises. Cool track, very Catatonia. Listen back, Jimmy. Listen back to Irises and tell me that doesn't sound like Brave Murder Day.
Oh yeah, that's kind of like, yeah. No, I could see that.
Big time. I'm like, whoa, that sounds like Catatonia track. Very ethereal cleans. The Catatonia section, they aren't mixed great, but they're almost too out front. That's the only thing I don't love about this album. While I like his vocals, they jump out at you at times. He got much better at layering them in the layers of guitars and synths and atmosphere, to where it's become the vocals became more of an instrument of the
right.
whole, as opposed to like the one thing I don't like about this, even though I like his vocals, is sometimes his vocals are a little too up front. Wandering Skies. Oh, I was gonna say Iris is probably my favorite track. Wandering Sky, very pretty and uplifting. Almost reminds me of what Oasis or Coldplay would sound if they had edgier metallic guitars. Lots of acoustic guitars on this song. Lots of angelic vocals and shimmering chords. Good stuff. On the Other Shore, very chilled female vocals. Kind of my least favorite song, till the ending set of chordal motifs that are played. That's really cool at the end. And the last one, Tir and Nog, or whatever it is. On the Other Shore, very chilled female vocals. Kind of my least favorite. Oh, no, wait. I just read that. Land of the Young. Very pretty synthy, acoustic, Irish vibey song. Kind of gives me a little bit of a sour sort of vibe, some of that Scottish Highland sort of thing. And you can tell he's starting to kind of get into the epicness of writing. Shows a lot of growth in the songwriting department. Neej is working out his clean vocals, which are getting stronger, and the overall sound and mix is solid, if a bit flat. The vocal mix is a little up front, as I said, but otherwise quite good. My only gripe is not much metal and zero black metal. I'm going with an 8 out of 10. And I took this, and I'm not shit. I always note people when I steal some of their thoughts, but I didn't this one. Fuck. I'm going to steal it anyways. So, Memories from Another World was more somber and pensive, but still harmonious and expansive, while Iris was candescent, like a comet falling amid a background of Aurora Borealis. To provide a fitting conclusion to his manifesto, Sur l'Être Rêvé, whatever, was an astral requiem, a swirl of autumnal leaves that defied the laws of gravity and headed towards the stratosphere. Thought that was really was pretty telling about what this album sounds like. Pretty nailed it pretty good. So, all right, Jimmy, we're up to
Écailles de lune.
Écailles de lune, which is
Écailles.
moon scales, right?
Yeah, moon scales.
This came out March 26, 2010. It was recorded in Germany in Klangschmiede Studio E, Mellichstadt, Germany. Prophecy Production, which Prophecy's German, right? They're a German label, right? I think, yeah. Producer was Martin Kohler. So, real quick on this one. Second studio album. It's the first Alcest album to feature Winter Alter on drums, although it continues in the direction started the first album. Escalis marks a darker, louder transition into shoegazing, while also coming back to the band's black metal origins, as it features harsh vocals like those found on Le Secret. Alcest Mastermind News said of the album's concept, "This story isn't really a metaphor of death as it would seem to be. For me, it's about a man who decides to leave one world for another. Literally like a passage to another reality, another state of existence. This time, I was especially inspired by the seaside, the energy and exaltation you can feel when you sit in front of the sea at night. It appears terribly fascinating, full of secrets and scary at the same time. Solar Song is sung in glossolalia." There you go. Glossolalia. And Sur l'Océan, whatever, is a musical version of the poem Paul Jean Toulet. Abyssus was written and performed in its entirety by Furcy de Series of Les Discrets, who also did the album's artwork, and the next one too, I believe. So go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I kind of think what's interesting, because like, in the second record, I think the first three are kind of like sort of like a trilogy. I think, like, I don't know if you ever really, I think he kind of intended it to be like that, to really kind of stick with his, his world building that he's been doing here, and so I like how, the first record, you kind of have more of the adolescent feel to it, like, with, there's a childlike quality to Souvenirs, where this one kind of has maybe a little bit more of an adult quality to it, like there's a, you can, it paints the picture, the music, and like in the picture there, I think kind of really represents, very well what the music sounds like, as you were kind of alluding to, like the more the sound of the ocean is very prevalent on this. But this is also, I think, was like kind of the big statement, and really, I think this is what put the band on the map, because they really brought in a lot more of the black metal influence on here. There's a lot more of the black metal vocal, and it's definitely a little bit more expansive than Souvenirs, whereas that album's kind of, six tracks. The songs aren't very long. Maybe there was a couple of 7 minutes in there, but these, starting off with, you feel like you have they're starting to feel like they have these big epic, there's a big epic track, and then the rest of it, like the first two tracks, part one and part two, kind of like are the kind of defining statement of the album, and really bring you through a lot of the journeys of music, like, whereas in terms of the melodies and the just the different moods in terms of the clean versus the more black metal. I believe this was, when did you say, it was Winter Halter's first drum performance, right? Which was a great addition to the band. He's one of those drummers that, like, I love him because he's powerful. He plays to the song. He doesn't immediately come out as like, this like virtuoso drummer, but that's what I like, is that he really keeps the drumming in context, but also makes it in turn, like, he does a lot with a little, but he puts you can tell that he's very good. If you've ever seen him live, he's still, to this day, the guy just plays with 4 drums and like 2 cymbals.
Yeah, I was going to say, he does not have a big set at all.
Strips it down. He does, and I love that. I love it when drummers can just do a lot with a little. And I think so I think he kind of allowed Nage to kind of like focus a lot more on the music and not have to be so. I'm sure that's really stressful to have to perform everything. But
he's not. He also reminds me a little bit of the dude in Aranzi Pazuzu. Now, they have a lot of other stuff going on, but if you ever see that guy, like, I saw them play once live, I swear he only had I think he had 2 toms. I don't think he had any, like, anything up here. He had a snare. I think it was like a 5-piece set. That was it. Yeah, it's pretty. I'd say, pretty similar. But got the art book for this as well. Oh, nice. Well worth the money. I think you could still get these. I don't think there's. How big are they, Jimmy? They look pretty large.
They are, man. I mean, it's like 50 pages.
That looks amazing, dude. I did not realize they had these.
All the. I mean, like, it's all like silver, like hot foil stamping.
The only bitch about that is if you built your CDs racks to have like that much space in them. You're gonna be fucked,
Yeah, you can't really put them with the rest of your CDs. But
did they put? Which ones did they do? They did all of them up through Kodama or what?
They've pretty much done them all. But I mean, the newest one that came out was the next record, which just got the 10-year anniversary. But it's cool because like there's even they got the guy that did all the artwork in there. It's like some of his sketches, and he talks about like the concepts behind,
those are cool, man.
Vision was to so you get a lot of extra stuff in here that you don't get that they never
released. What they run you? Do you remember?
I think they're like $25-$30, about the cost of a vinyl. But and they even had like their first gig with Agalock. I don't know if it was their first gig, but it was probably the one I was talking about.
Agalock.
Yeah, I don't know if you could see, but there's the.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, how about that? Where was that at?
They did some shows. Looks like Bucharest and Brazov, wherever that is.
I don't know. Check that out.
I think that might be Romania.
That must have been an awesome show.
Yeah, I bet. Even actually, Don Anderson has liner notes in here. This is all written by Don Anderson. As far as this record, I don't know, man. It's just like I hate to do it again, but I wouldn't change a thing on here.
See, I don't know. Do you guys really think I don't necessarily hear Agalock in their music?
No.
I think they're very different.
No, and I was trying to correct that. I was trying to correct that in the comments to Logan. I didn't mean to like compare them. I just was like kind of comparing some of the guitar tone in that first one to like the acoustic guitar sound and Pale Folklore. But yeah, I mean, I said in there, I think they occupy a similar space, but they're completely different. I mean, they don't sound alike at all. Even though I just think that they both offer a unique kind of brew of influences that kind of have a black metal under.
That's what it is. Yeah, they're both have unique takes on it, but they're not the same.
Yeah,
I think Jimmy's the only one that's gotten to see Agalock of us three, and I've been a fan going way back. Now with them reuniting, I think the possibility of them doing some U.S. shows is probably more real than certainly it ever was before. I mean, whether I don't think it's going to happen this year, but they're doing the couple of festival things, but I think it's going to lead to more activity next summer, maybe.
It feels like they should do that. What was that show? Like the camping show?
Fire in the Mountains.
Fire in the Mountains.
Yeah,
that would be cool. Yeah,
wouldn't shock me at all if that's in the works.
I wouldn't because they're supposed to announce 2024, but I don't know if it's even happening or not. But that would be amazing.
They definitely align with that whole aesthetic.
Oh, sure, far, yeah. Even these guys would too. I mean, it would be perfect.
And actually. They would. You're right. And actually, if I'm not wrong, Agalock is doing a gig coming up, right?
They're doing one in Portland,
August?
Yeah.
August, I think.
Yeah, in fact, my friend Russ, Sylvain Wandering, I think he's going to go. I think CJ is going too.
Oh, I know CJ's going because he flew the fuck out there to go to that thing in the woods, that camping thing.
Yeah, he went to that. That was that.
Cascadian something or something.
Yeah, just now, right? Yeah.
That's that I don't know about that. That one wasn't. Panopticon, I guess Austin was there. I don't think the band was there. I think it was just Austin.
Yeah.
Man, give that 10 out of 10.
I mean, I just don't see what. I mean, the only thing maybe there's that one little interlude that's kind of like it's nice. It's kind of whatever, but
just ambient.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool. But yeah, every song on here, I mean, this is definitely, I would say, like the darkest Alcest, even though it's not. There's definitely a darker tone to it, especially in the what is that, the third track, Persis de Lumiere.
Mm-hmm.
That one's pretty dark. But then there's the Solar song. There's like some typo in here, and just that was what instantly kind of. But it definitely has like some of his best black metal streaks. So it's kind of interesting like how like Opeth like I don't want to say they sound anything like Opeth, but like where Opeth wasn't really a death metal band, but he has the best death metal roar. And I already said like they're not really a black metal band, but he's got the best black metal shriek, and really shows on this one, man. It's so effective when he uses it.
Also, sometimes when you use it sparingly, it hits you. It hits you better,
Yeah, it's more effective. It's like it's not just like just to do it. But yeah, the crown jewel of this record is the first 2 tracks.
They're killer.
Part 1 and 2. It's just so killer. And if you ever get the chance to see them play those live, which they do often, and it's
I'm gonna look that up while Serge goes. I'm gonna look up the set list for the last time we saw them. Serge, how about you, man?
Yeah, as Jimmy mentioned, the first 2 tracks are amazing. There's just the first one feels very like sentimental, wistful, which is I think an interesting vibe for them here. And again, you immediately feel the upgrade with the drummer, in my opinion. Like when I listen to this album, the part 2, when it kicks into like the black metal section, the black metal vocals, there's something about it, how they do it, where it doesn't feel oppressive, it doesn't feel dark. It's different. It's more transcending. And very cool guitar in that track. I know Jimmy said the third track, the Breakthroughs of Light, Percée de Lumière. Jimmy said it was dark, but to me, even the black metal part of that doesn't feel oppressive. It's different. I don't know. I don't get that vibe from most of like the black metal bands where those parts can feel claustrophobic, can feel oppressive, can feel dark, evil, whatever. I don't know. I don't really get any of that with Alcest in general, this track specifically. And then the latter part of the album is very, very chill. After that little ambient, interlude, both Solar Song and that I can pronounce some of these things on the Iron Colored Ocean. It's kind of a sleepy track. Probably some of our most low key work. So I don't know. It's a beautiful album. Really, really takes you somewhere. So yeah, if I had to rate it, I guess like 9 out of 10. Trying to give it a little bit of room, but this is amazing.
Yeah, I just looked up. Closest I could find, they played the day before they played Day of Darkness. They played Reggie's out in Chicago, and they did Kodama, Eclosion. Je suis d'Alar, Untouched, A suis de Prio, I don't know, Onyx, Souvenirs de Autre, Percée de Lumière, Autre Temps. Oh man, I'm not even gonna try that. Là où naissent les coulées nouvelles. I don't know. I almost sound like I'm really speaking French there. Sur los liens coulées de fer. And Deliverance. So there you go. Which I didn't know they had a track called Deliverance, which is interesting. Which was after the one we all know and love. Yeah, for me, I didn't really ask you guys to rank these. We can do them at the end if you want. This is my favorite by a pretty wide margin. This is the perfect mix of the black metal, the shoegaze, the Cocteau Twins, the Cure. It's just got it all, man. It's just a beautiful album. It kicks off with Moonscales Part 1 and Part 2. They're just that 20 minutes, basically. It's not quite 19 and some change. It's just absolutely amazing. Super pretty, transcending chords, vocal harmonies with ethereal mellow parts that are super evocative of flying over snow-covered mountaintops as the spin drift unfurls into the heavens. Then opening up the black.
Gotta blow yourself up.
Oh, God damn it, man. I get to reading my script and I forget. Unfortunately, I'm too old and my mental stuff is struggling. I'm having a rough night. So, so where was that? Blast beats and the black metal sections are still really melancholic and tuneful with angelic vocals. Part 1's just incredible. The clean guitar melodies on part 2 are really gorgeous on the whole album. They start this track but head into more black metal or epic metal sounding chords, but Nij goes straight into black metal vocals on part 2. And they're more focused and less shrieky than on earlier albums. I think they're mixed better. They're lying in the mix a little bit better. So they don't sound as in your face as the earlier black metal vocals do. Probably my favorite track, tied with track 3, breakthroughs of light. Shrieks are back, hardcore, but they work over these chord arrangements pretty wickedly. Dig the screams a lot on this song. Cool melodies on the guitar. Could be a Radiohead song or even an Anathema song. It sounds like an Anathema song to me. If the blood-curdling screams weren't there. Abyss is super cool. Atmos interlude. Sounds like space and black holes, what I would envision. Solar Song has an almost trippy beat. That song, Abyss, almost has a weird fucking, or not Solar Song, rather, has a trippy Beatles vibe to it. Like I can almost hear Beatles chords underneath that one, which is very odd. Also, I don't know if you guys know this band. Both you guys may not. Do you know the band Enough's Enough?
Oh yeah,
they did that song, Fly High Michelle, Fly High Michelle.
Yeah, come on, it's a good song.
Oh, dude, that fucking song rules. Donnie V's vocals remind me a little bit of what I envision Nij would sound like if he could sing in English, if he was singing in English. It's that weird, trippy, almost psychedelic that, can't even explain it. You got to know Enough's Enough. What was the other big song they had that was really big?
Man, it was that. What was that? That was the second single they had. There was the first single. I can't remember which.
Was it? Cause your baby loves you. Yes, your baby loves you. Or Blue Island was another one. Flying high on Blue Island.
I gotta look it up because it's a good song.
I know the song you're thinking of, and I can't think of it. But the big one was Fly High Michelle. Fly High Michelle. Fly High Michelle. Great song.
Great song.
I love that fucking album. But it has a weird enough vibe. Huh?
It was New Thing.
That's it. I get high on a new thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And he's got them stacked vocals. We get high. That's the Beatles thing because they sound so Beatles-ish, Serge is like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
You were kind of like, they came off
like
an
80s
glam rock, but they had a psychedelic kind of vibe to them.
Yeah, and a super big time Beatles edge to them that was cool. Like Beatles with a little bit of a metallic and a little bit of a glammy hard rock, maybe Rat. If you threw Rat in there and they were happy and not, trying to just get laid. Well, I don't know. Those guys are always trying to get laid, but okay, so. On the Iron-Colored Ocean. Very mellow intro with lots of ringing notes and plaintive vocals. Very beautiful building track. Reminds me a bit of Tirnanog on the debut. It's a killer album of shimmery, shoegazy beauty and some fairly atmospheric black metal moments. But it's not really a savage black metal at all. There's a little bit that's like intense, but it's never savage. It's more like the light and shade, the light and dark. Love this album and about 95% sure it's my favorite. Now I'm 100% sure after listening to everything, going back and getting it. The perfect blend of shoegaze, ethereal, angelic, uplifting, pretty, and a bit of a black metal or black gaze in it. I'm going 9.75 out of 10. Hard to top this one. The next one comes close, and then we'll get to the rest of them. We're moving along pretty good. Where are we at here? Le Voyage de la Mer.
The Lamb.
What is it?
The Lamb or the Lamb? I don't know.
Lamb. I'm thinking it's Lamb. Lamb.
Wow.
That came out January 6th. Oh, sorry, Jimmy. You guys might have to yell at me again one more time. Great artwork again. The last one we should mention had really killer artwork too. Again, out with Prophecy. This one's a bit longer. Most of the other albums stayed in the 40-minute range. This one jumped over 50.
They have a formula, and apparently he talked about it. They do have a formula. It's like 5 tracks. The last one is a little different. About 40
so
minutes.
this one Ultra Attempts was, however, Ultra Attempt was also released in a different version as the single was made into a music video. The album has been described as a musical synthesis of the previous two albums, blending shoegaze, post-rock, and black metal influences. Nij has described the album as a continuation of his effort to describe his experiences of another world and visions as a child, and as an attempt to explore this very strange esoteric experience. The Voyages is inspired by these even more than on previous albums, with Nij saying that the goal of this album was to push the concept of the band to the maximum. All the lyrics are very clear this time because I was speaking about this. Because before I was speaking about this, but taking others' directions to avoid that stuff. The lyrics of the new album are really speaking about this and nothing else, that other worldly experience. So, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can consider this, the closing of the what I like to call like
Trilogy.
the Otherworld trilogy. Yeah. So, where we kind of had more of the kind of the more adult kind of feeling of moon scales. Like this one to me is like, dying and going to this other world, as represented by the cover art, where you have this sort of like swan-like being that's like guarding the gates into the world, into the other world.
Oh yeah,
the next realm. And
that's a peacock, right? Like a peacock bird.
What did I say? Did I say
no? Is
peacock?
that a peacock on there? Isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it's kind of like a peacock. It's got like a long robe.
It's got like a dinosaur bill or something.
Yeah. Yeah, really cool. Kind of a cool pressing, kind of like a neon yellow
nice.
kind of deal. Yeah, man. I mean, like I kind of have a hard time picking my favorite out of the first three, just because I don't know. It's like all three are kind of related to each other, and I mean, this one kind of. I think it kind of takes the vibe down just a little bit in terms of like the intensity. I guess if you want to say that they got kind of their most intense on the moon scales, where this one kind of more, not as much of the
Black metal.
Yeah, there's not as much of the black metal vibe, and there's still some of that in here, but I don't know. It's just. Like I said, this is the first time I saw them live. They did their first U.S. tour. And even at the time, I still hadn't really quite grown to the band yet. Even like I like some of the stuff, but it just took some time before it really just like hit me for some reason. But seeing them live was a big deal, and they played a little tiny club in Denver, really kind of a shithole. But they sounded really good, and it was the same lineup that they have today, the same live lineup that they use. But there's a couple of comparisons I want to draw to for this album that hopefully kind of relates to people that haven't heard it before. Starting with Ultra Attempts, that's kind of like the fan favorite. They always do it live. Good, solid Alcest song. But a lot of these songs kind of follow a similar template.
Yep.
But you have to really let them kind of. You have to listen to them because they do have a lot of those big time stopper kind of moments. And I think that ultimately, it plateaus with the title track, The Voyages of the Soul. I said in the beginning of the stream, if I were to tell somebody what song should I listen to, that would be the one I'd point to. I mean, that's like one of those songs I'd like to hear, like, on my deathbed. I mean, because I think it would put me at ease and calm. I still, to this day, when I listen to that song, it gives me extreme goose flesh. It just does, I have to stop what I'm doing and just kind of close my eyes and just kind of, fall into it. Looking at the cover art, I mean, it feels to me like a lot of, especially that song, really embodies what you see in the cover, where, it starts off like where it's like you're in the process of dying. And then the second half of the song is when you walk up to this door here and are met by this entity and allowed passage into the next realm. In a lot of ways, it feels like the Grey Havens in Lord of the Rings, when at the very end, when all the Hobbit, when the elves and Frodo and Bilbo are allowed over and across to the Grey Havens, kind of feels like that a lot. But
I don't know if you agree with me on this. Let me just interject 1 second. Doesn't Ultra Temps, which stands for another time, doesn't that might be the most Agalakian song that they've done?
yeah, I can
You
see
agree?
that.
It's got that, the just the melody that and the opening chords, those ringing, jangling, almost Western sounding, like almost like spaghetti Western sounding chords. Then it gets into the la, 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 la. Maybe a little more shoegazy than Halm and company do, but I could have heard that on Ashes to the
Ashes Against the Grain.
the Grain. Yeah, I could have heard that be a song on there. I mean, again, they're two very different songs, but that particular song was like, oh, that's the Agalot song. I hear it there.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. It's definitely like it's kind of the trademark sound. It's kind of a good, like, I mean, that would be a good complete first song to listen to as well, because it really kind of gives you an idea. It's not long. It's kind of to the points, kind of verse chorus kind of song.
Perfect introduction. Yeah.
Yeah, good introduction. But to, like, you really want the beauty. I mean, like, you get into the meat of this record. Another comparison I wanted to draw, and I actually talked about this, but I'm going to do it again here because we're talking about Alcest. I was on Marty's channel one night, the Heavy Metallurgy. We did a show on escapism, and I brought up this record. And one of the other comparisons I wanted to make that I made there was the movie Shawshank Redemption. I'm sure if you've seen the movie, there's a scene in that movie where Andy Dufresne, the main character, is he's basically overseeing the new library in the prison, and he keeps writing these letters to the state, and they finally send him a bunch of books and a bunch of records, and he's looking through the records, and he finds this record. It's an Italian opera, and he's in the warden's office, and one of the officers is watching him, goes to the bathroom. He goes and he locks the door and locks the officer in there. He takes the record, puts it on the record player, puts it over the loudspeaker to where the field is on the outside, where all the prisoners are outside doing their
awesome
walk. He puts that on, and the entire prison stops in their tracks and just looks up.
Yep.
And they don't even move. They're just looking up because they haven't heard music in years or whatever it is. And I think, and one of the things, the lines that Red, Morgan Freeman's character, says, he says, "I have no idea to this day what those two Italian ladies were singing about. Truth is, I don't want to know. Some things are best left unsaid. I'd like to think that they were singing about something so beautiful it can't be expressed in words, and makes your heart ache because of it." And I think that really perfectly applies to this band, and especially the title track of this record.
Yeah.
It's a time stopper. And yeah, man, really, really, I mean, I would be, I guess I could easily say it's a 10 out of 10. Now, there's a couple songs that do kind of maybe drag a little bit, but they kind of redeem themselves a little halfway. I think it's like, I think it's the 4th and 6th track. But another, also one of my favorite songs on this record, Summer's Glory, the last song. Just the the melodies, man, just the bright, just welcoming, just transcendent melodies that he achieves on this. I think he really he found that sort of zenith in his melodic ability on this. I don't want to say like he'll never be able to do it again, but I really think it has the finest, most compelling melodies that he's written. And I think it was kind of like the swan song of his, just this being the end of the Otherworld trilogy, even though I think he keeps that theme going forward from here. It's an absolutely gorgeous record, and another one of those. All three of these are desert albums for me that I'll have forever and never get tired of. Never stop getting goosebumps when I listen to it.
I'll be interested to. Now I'm definitely going to make you rank them because I want to see you squirm a little bit. So
I know that's a squirmy there. Yeah,
it's so hard.
That's very difficult.
Horror. What do you got, Serge, on this one? Good stuff, Jimmy.
Thanks.
By the way, never mind. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Okay. I was going to address something in here, but I lost the comment. I don't know where it went.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I like Jimmy's kind of analogy of this trilogy of them kind of maturing, adult, and that whole life cycle. To me, even though the music feels maybe similar, there's something about the growth of Alcest here, and this album I think is where they hit the high note in terms of truly being evocative, truly taking you to a different place, a different space. I think the title song to me is maybe the best example where, like, I listen to it and I just picture myself like flying over this landscape.
Yep.
I don't know how to describe it, but it's crazy because there's so little music really gives you that feeling, and this does, and I think you just have to experience it. That track is really amazing, and I think there's not a bad track on here. You know, like it start the autre term. I wrote down swaying back and forth because I kind of was doing this, like listening to it. You know, the second song where the new colors are born. I'm just not gonna do the French thing. You know, again, even when the screams kick in, it's not dark or angry. It still feels transcending. You know, Nous sommes la Maraude is a stupidly pretty song without being cheesy, which is, you know, it's sometimes hard to achieve. Beings of Light is another very cinematic song where you feel like something being born, emerging, you know, discovering. You know, it does evoke that lightness even before it kicks in the heavier section. Heavens is probably like the saddest note of the album. It's still pretty though. Like there's something about Alcest that you never feel down.
That's a beautiful track, man.
You know, it's
Havens.
Even if you experience, you know, emotions or, you know, visions or experiences, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't bring you down, which I love about Alcest. And then the funny, like somebody mentioned this earlier, which is interesting because when I wrote down For Summer's Glory, something about that track made me think of Smashing Pumpkins.
Made you think of what?
Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, you know that somebody mentioned it earlier. I think
Somebody
Wade
mentioned it earlier, so I'm not the only one.
There's that Siamese Dream meets that there's something about those first two. You know, a lot of people shit on Billy Corgan because he's kind of an odd dude, but he's written some incredible music. And Gish and Siamese Dream, there is something about the sound of those albums. Butch Vig's production of those albums is just so. I always go back to this word, ethereal. It just has this feeling. I don't listen to a lot of. I have probably 8 Smashing albums, and I rarely ever check any album.
Yeah, I'm not.
But you're right, though. That Wade was right about that. You're right.
That triggered me. But yeah, overall, I mean, this album was a 10 for me, and I wrote down this. This is one of those albums I imagine like hiking up a mountain, just sitting on top, just watching the sunset.
Yeah,
just listening to this.
And I've done that many times.
Well,
here's the thing.
I know that's very much a Jimmy thing, but that's just what it feels
Jimmy
like.
and because it does really do that. I think that's what really made me love it so much, was just kind of being in nature with it, you know.
Well, it's very evocative of nature. I mean, he likes to talk about evocativeness of other worlds, but it's very evocative of the real world, the world of nature. That, you know, luckily,
which to us at this point might as well be another world because we live inside and we're almost insulated unless you actually make an effort to go out there.
Right. Well, that's a very good point. Yeah, because a lot of us live. I don't know if Jimmy lives in suburbia. I assume you do, but I think we all probably live in, you know, cities, towns. None of us are living out on a ranch in Montana somewhere, but I know it's very near and dear to Jimmy, and it's very near and dear to you, Serge, when you can get away to Pennsylvania or upstate New York or Vermont or New Hampshire. And I haven't done it in quite a long time, but when I am able to get out and do that, there's a spirit of life that you just don't have when you are in your day-to-day world of 9 to 5 stress, anxiety, shitty things that happen, dealing with shitty fucking people, dealing with shitty services like schools and medical shit and all that stuff. When you can get away and pull that out, and I think that's what this music encompasses for me anyways. I haven't had the pleasure in a long time of getting out to the country or to the mountains with these albums, but I don't have to. I can kind of go there in my mind with these albums, and that's what's really pretty. That's why I keep using ethereal and evocative. There's just something about them that is very childlike, which is something he talks about. It's that spirit of, I go to the sea and I stare into the sea because it's so vast, so huge. And there's a lot of scary stuff in the sea, right? There's sharks and killer orca whales now that are attacking boats. And
there's a missing submersible now.
There's submersibles that have disappeared. I mean, can you imagine if you're going to go? I guess that's a way to go because it's over like that. You're crushed in a moment, But I don't think that's how I want to go. But yeah, I mean, it's just were you done? I'm sorry, I didn't finish.
Yeah, I'm good.
What do you give this one? It's pretty up there.
I said 10. Yeah.
Oh, it's a 10. So this is your okay. All right, cool. It's gonna be interesting to have.
Again, I hate to rank these.
I know.
I honestly don't know how to rank them, but
yeah, we're gonna do it anyways. We're gonna do it anyways as an exercise of pain. All right, so for me, real quick, man. As Jimmy said, it's kind of the trilogy, the bookend. Oh yeah, bookend of the trilogy. I just like you so much, Serge. I want your big, beautiful face.
I know. I appreciate that. You want to show my face, but
well, now when I go up here, then I gotta. I'm constantly doing this. I can't find a hair tie to get my hair out of my face. The one real negative about having long hair is it ends up in your fucking food. It ends up all over the shower, clogging the drain. I love it, but I hate it at the same time. Jimmy, you don't have to worry about that. All right, another time. Really cool track that. It's just so beautiful. Stacked harmonies in there. Where Colors Are Born, a rocker that has the languid verses and kind of buried vocals. Some cool streams in the choruses under a clean vocal. When he screams on this one, it brings the song alive. It honestly, perhaps it's a little bit long, but it's weirdly, I could not get this out of my head, man. I hear these weird things when I listen to music. You guys have heard me do it, but this is really going to fuck you guys up. The ending riffs so much remind me of Billy Joel's "You May Be Wrong, But You May Be Right." Down, down. You may be wrong, but you listen to it. I swear to God, it's there, man. You can tell me I'm crazy.
I'm gonna try to forget you ever said this.
Jimmy's like, fuck, I can never go out in the wild with this album again.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what though? I read something about Billy Joel today on I don't know whether it was Instagram or music website. You know what, man? He does not allow ticket companies. He buys all the tickets in the front 3 rows because he knows that they go for like $1,500. Great. He buys them at their wholesale cost. He gives them to people up in the nosebleeds to come down, and because he says, I was so tired of seeing all these corporate people down there drinking and schmoozing and trying to get laid and not listen to my music. So I brought people that in the back that paid the money to go sit way back there. And when they were down front there, they were totally into the music. That's pretty fucking cool.
That is kind of cool.
That is fucking cool. All right. What else here? Journeys of the Soul. Weirdly, that's your guys' favorite track. That song reminds me so much of a late 70s Neil Young and Crazy Horse song.
Jeff of all these like random.
Look, I'm old, man. I hear this shit. What can I say? I'm telling you right now, go listen to like Pocahontas or Cortez the Killer. I'm telling you, that's good shit. Don't be bitching on Neil.
Yeah, first Enough's Enough, now Billy Joel.
No, Enough's Enough. Billy Joel, Neil Young. I got more. There's a Stephen Wilson one coming up. Journeys of the Soul. I said that one. We are the Emerald. Very Explosions meets Coldplay or Keen in the mellow sections. Has a nice, memorable chorus-like section. Tremolo part almost sounds like an EBO, since it rises. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. I'm not sure what word I was trying to say. And sustains so intensely. Beings of Light, man, I love that song. It's kind of the epic. If you were like going into battle, this is the song. You raise your sword to this song, you ride into battle. And this song just has that amazing, pretty vocal washes, harmonies, plus synths, angelic into probably the most intensely up-tempo track with near blast beats. It's repetitive, but it's just got those ghostly, ethereal chords, the vocal washes with the synths. I love it, man. And this is the song, very Porcupine Tree-ish, in that it sounds like the chords to Half-Light. Go listen to Half-Light, which is a slower track, but I'm telling you right now, it's the same chords. He had to have been listening to them. Maker of Worlds, good mixture of heavier but mid-tempo and the brittle post-rock shoegaze, great vocals. The ending where it becomes more of a tremolo riff fest and blast beats is really cool. Almost sounds like Sour, this one here. Havens, breathy, melancholic interlude, really gorgeous. And then Summer Glory, very post-metal in the slow dive vibe, very evocative, solid track at 4 minutes. Changes tempo a bit and key and becomes very proggy in a post-rock way. Lots of chiming single notes and gauzy keys, then hits sort of an epic uplifting coda with vocals and the na 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 na. He does that a lot on this album. Very pretty choral arrangements. It's kind of Moon Scales too, basically, which isn't a bad thing. There isn't quite as much black metal screams on it, although there is a lot. It's got a lot of pretty melodies all over the songs, although the songs kind of bleed together. I'm going a 9.5 on this one. It's right there with Moon Scales. It's right up there, man. And just a note on this one, it says, like Alcest's other music, the goal is to convey a sort of escapism, a new world for the listener to be transported to, one of beauty where you can feel the warmth of the sun and listen to the music of the ocean, a shelter from the real world where I'm sure this album... Oh, this is for Shelter. What am I doing here? Oops. I jumped ahead. Sorry. I had it in the wrong section. But so, yeah, that's, Voyages, fantastic album. Just fantastic.
What song did you say was like Half-Light again?
I felt that Maker of... wait, I'm sorry. Hold on.
That was Beings of Light. No?
Beings of Light. Listen to the end of it on the coda out, and listen to Half-Light, and you'll see what I'm saying. The on Half-Light he does that thing where I don't think I can do the falsetto like him, but where he goes kind of like that kind of whiny thing that Steve does a lot. I like it on this song. I love it on this song, but he does the falsetto, and it's just that it might even be a slide guitar where he's doing that. If you listen to Beings of Light, it has that towards the end, I think. Okay, Shelter. Jimmy, I know this one's pretty special for you. So January 17th, 2014. Again, this was recorded in Iceland. Hey, Sigur Rós. There you go. Sings in French and English on this, I believe. Oh, and wait a minute. Nah, that's not the guy, is it? Never mind. I thought it was Jonesy Berg. I thought it was Jonesy Bergsham when I looked at it, and I'm like, no, that's not it. It's Berger John Bergeson. I guess everyone over in Finland has sort of a Berger and a John and a Bergerson in his name or something. Jonesy Bergeson or a Jonesy maybe. And I know you like Solofat a lot, Serge. So what are those guys' names? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm terrible with names in general. So.
Isn't your friend married to the one dude, the guitar player?
Yeah. Do you think I know his name?
Still don't know his name though.
Nice. My bad, but again.
What's that?
First of all, Icelandic names. Yeah, good luck.
Oh, I love that band. Solofal? That's who you're talking about?
Solstafir.
Oh, Solstafir. Okay, yeah.
Solstafir. I'm sorry. Solstafir.
Should do live on those guys sometime.
Yeah, they're really good. I've seen them live one time.
Yeah, we saw it too. Really good. Go for it.
I did. Yeah, it's kind of a interesting sort of, after the trilogy, I think it was kind of fitting to like go left field a little bit on this album. I think this is like, I guess this one's like so special to me because this is around the time that I really got into the band. And I know like a lot of people didn't really like this album, because it really kind of moved away, from, the black gaze thing, which I've never really liked that term too much, but I mean, but it makes sense. And I understand kind of why they get classified as that. But it was another album that kind of took me, I had to kind of come back to it, and took some time before I really appreciated it because at first I just kind of wasn't, really vibing with what they were trying to get at. But it's like in context, it kind of like, I mean, this is just a straight shoegaze album. It's not, there's no metal on it. It's very, I don't want to say like stripped down, but it's just definitely a lot more mellow. And I guess it was kind of special for me because like not only around this time, like I see this was, when they toured with Anathema, I got to see them for that. And then I got to see them again with my wife, and that's kind of where the special part came in. And I don't really talk about this too much, but me and my wife, like, we were together like very young. I'm 44 now, and so we split up and were not together for 10 years. And,
oh, wow.
Circumstances in our lives brought us back together. And at the time, this is a band that she loves as well.
That's so cool.
So we were able to go see them play together, like right when we started dating again, and went and saw Alcest, and it was just one of those special kind of moments that we both, just enjoyed it together, and would listen to it a lot. But yeah, man, I mean, like, I don't know, it's just another fucking great Alcest record, man. What can I say? I mean, it's more just about the melody on this one, and it's just got. I think what really captured me, what really got me into the album was the title track. Just because I love that guitar tone that he used on it. It's got that really just like string kind of not string, but slide guitar kind of feel, where everything's like really sustained and it just reverberates and it's just really effective. And I think that, listening to that, I was like, wow, this is really good. Kind of because, ever since they released this, they would always end their shows with Deliverance, which is the last track on here. It's a great song. But I'd love to see them do another one of these, really. Because, I mean, after some time, man, I mean, this really just grew on me like crazy. And I would rank it up there with everything they've done so far. I mean, I don't know. I would give it a 10 out of 10, but I don't know. It's pretty close. I don't really find anything on here that I don't like. I like that, they kind of just focused on the real melodic side of the band. And another really standout part is they got the slow dive guy to do the vocals on Away. And that's such a beautiful song.
I don't know Slow Dive. That's a really, I know the band name, but I never looked into the material. And I'm like, wow, how did I miss that one?
Well, and it's like, being that this was like when I really got into the band, getting into the older records like really heavily.
Right.
I had never really listened to like shoegaze. I didn't really know what it was, other than that's what they were calling a lot of this stuff. So I tried to like go into some slow, because I think Slow Dive is one of those highly cited shoegaze bands. And I mean, at the time, I think I gave them a try, and maybe I need to do that again because that was years ago, and it didn't really quite. I didn't really find, because I know they're highly cited. I just didn't really get anything from it at the time, but maybe I need to go back because I love this dude's contribution to this. And
I don't know. Like, are you familiar, Jimmy, with how much do you know of Talk Talk?
Talk Talk?
Yeah, do you know Talk Talk at all?
No.
You've heard a couple songs by them, I'm sure. You know them, right, Serge?
Yeah.
You know, like baby, life's what you make it. Don't have to fake it. Life's what you make it. You know that because didn't what was the song Gwen Stefani did the cover? Was that the one she did, or what was the other one? It's my life. It's now or then. It's my. They're kind of thought to be very post rocky, whereas this is more the shoegazy stuff. But there's it's a small niche of bands. That's why I'm saying like Ride. Did you ever hear Ride? The band Ride.
No,
They're in that.
you're right.
Yeah, they're in
I
that.
mean, it's not like a huge genre or anything.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, hey, Human Falafel, I'd say if you could, man, could you like just give us like your top 2 favorite slow dives, and I'll go check them out because I just feel like maybe it's time to revisit that stuff. You know, I mean, even like Sigur Rós, which I know is like a
Big
lot
time.
of, like that was another one that I just didn't. You know, they got a lot of stuff too, so maybe I just didn't start with the right record. You know, but like, and I know that that's a huge influence on Neige, but. So maybe I need to go back to that stuff too. But it's kind of like, you know, for me, like as far as like music in general goes, if the melodies are good, I'm in. I don't really care what style of music it is. It's fucking good on this, and I think at this point, they are still on top of the world as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, all those 4AD bands like Cocteau Twins, This Mortal Coil,
another one, yeah.
Clan of Zymox. Shit, I know I'm missing a big one.
Clan of Zymox is something a little different. You know?
Well, they're a little bit more synth based, a little darker, but I mean, they were
a little more rhythm based.
What's that?
A little more rhythm based.
Yeah, a little bit more Bauhausian, I guess, if you will, a little bit. You know, but even Bauhaus to some extent has like some. I don't want to call it shoegaze, but they have this, you know, that kind of etherealness to some of their stuff. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of this it's there's not a lot of bands in it. And again, I just don't know how the hell I missed Slow Dive. It's just very weird.
Yeah.
Man,
but one other thing,
so many bands you can get through, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. One other thing real quick about this record before I'm done is that this artwork, I mean, well, that's the front artwork, but to me, like that's the image that goes with the song Summer's Glory from the last album, you know, like that's kind of what I envision at the end of that song. So it's kind of interesting they stuck with that theme where like, you know, this doesn't really fit in with the trilogy. I don't think they really meant it to be, but it's just like they just kind of went and stuck with that really bright feeling. But it also represents what the sound of this record is as well, you know? So, I mean, it's very effective in terms of like what you're going to get out of the music. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Beautiful record, man. I love it.
Just wanted to address this thing here about, you know, these French black metal. There are a lot of really good French black metal bands. Sortilege too, although they're not black metal, good metal band. Deathspell's a tough one for me, man. I just I know allegedly the 4 guys or 3 guys or whatever that aren't tied in with they say they're not tied in with Aspa's, and I guess none of the lyrics are about that stuff because he doesn't write them, but he's just such a fucking cunt of a human being that I just don't. I almost can't overlook it to get in the music. And you're right, the music is angular, weird, cool, dissonant. It's cool stuff, but I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that whole thing. I'd have to talk to the guys personally, and they don't make themselves available for that kind of stuff much. So. All right, Serge, how about you with Shelter?
So I think talking about the cover art, I think like the first 3 tracks, they're very light, and I think that does kind of reflect in the cover art there. You know, very very chill, calming, dreamy. The 4th track is my standout. Man, the Veil de Muse, the Awakening of the Muses. I like the subtle driving nature of the drums there. It's one of the. So as far as Alcest goes, I feel like a lot of the tracks you feel like it just kind of lets you float, but this one actually like takes you somewhere. It kind of subtly pushes you. So I mean, it's a little different, but that was my favorite track on the album. I dig Shelter. I wrote down the guitar almost feels like surf rock in a way.
Yeah, totally.
Which one? Awakening or Shelter?
Shelter, yeah.
You know what I heard? I heard a lot of Chris Isaac. There we go, another one. He pulls another one out.
Oh my god.
Think.
I mean, yeah.
Listen to the guitars.
Okay, I'll grant you that one. I have to say,
I got papal dispensation. Thank you.
Away kind of took me out of the flow. It's a little like Vox heavy and vocal heavy, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of Neil's vocals necessarily, and I don't know that whole track is kind of made for me. I don't know. It just felt weird. But Deliverance is nice as the closer, at least on the original album. And then Into the Waves did remind me a little bit of Sugar Ross. Again, it's another guest vocalist who I don't really know, and I don't know their other band, Promise and the Monster. I have no idea.
Oh, that was a bonus track, right?
Yeah. So I would, I don't know, 8.5, let's say, for the album.
Okay.
I think it would be higher, but just Away just kind of kills me for some reason.
Yeah, I have to admit, this is one I didn't know. I knew about, but I never picked up, and I'm not really sure why I never picked it up. It was kind of when I came in on the band, but for some reason, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't love the artwork. The artwork doesn't say much to me. It's not.
I don't know. It's not as immediately.
No.
Draws me in as their other artwork.
Yeah, it's almost like I don't want to say that it's bad. It's just sort of ho hum, and it doesn't really speak to what might be in the album, which is something that's always fairly important to me. When I buy an album, I want it I want it to say, "Oh, this is what I have to give you. There's something cool here."
I mean, I can see that it works with the beginning of the album, but I don't know. I do love their artwork on the other album, so to me it's hard.
Oh yeah.
To pick this.
Yeah, the album on the artwork on the next one's really cool. Very anime based. So
yeah, it was definitely a departure for sure, even in the artwork. I mean,
very much so.
It really went a whole different direction.
Yeah, it's not even like, in a weird way, it's not even related much to the first album, which Souvenirs has that childlike thing, that which I don't think that's great artwork either, but they probably didn't have much of a budget, and maybe he just saw a really cool picture. If you look at his Instagram, he takes a lot of cool shots of trees and parks that he's at and flowers and all that stuff. And something I noticed about him, and I don't know if you know this, Jimmy.
Seems familiar.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like some dude I know. Do you guys follow him? Both you guys?
Yeah.
Did you notice that he really, really goes deep on responding to people? Like, he'll respond to sometimes 20, 30, 40 messages that, aren't just, "Hey, I love you, you're the greatest," or whatever. He might do a heart, but he'll actually do like.
Fairly rare to see. I mean, just because it's time consuming. Never mind.
Exactly. That's all.
You feel like being that upfront with fans, but
yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. It's like, that's a time consuming thing to do, and it opens you up a little bit too. So weirdly, this morning I was like, you know what? I'm going to send him a message, see what he says. But he didn't respond, and I think the reason is they're recording right now, so I may not hear from him. But I said, hey, if you ever want to come on the show, here's a link, blah blah blah, which probably isn't realistic, but at this point with my health. But yeah, very very interesting cat, very cool guy. Seems like a real down to earth, sweet, kind of almost childlike kind of dude. He's a couple years, almost not quite, but close to a generation younger than both you guys, in his mid to late 30s, and a little bit older than my kids. So it's just interesting to see. Anyway, where are we at here? The album's okay. Oh yeah, the album's related to the overall concept of shelter, a safe place to escape, this secret thing we all have when life is going too fast and you're full of anxiety. The album marks a significant stylistic shift for the band, fully embracing the band's shoegaze, dream pop influences while eliminating the previous metal influences. With Rolling Stone writing that the album has more in common genetically with Sigur Rós than Satyricon. Well, yeah, they never had much in common with Satyricon since the first album.
Wow, what a statement.
Yeah. If the Cocteau Twins discovered a long-lost triplet who had slugged it out in space pop groups and post-rock bands, comparing the style to Slowdive, Mogwai, yeah, I can hear that, Sigur Rós, and it's deeply indebted to the 90s British inspirational sources and wholly vested in the melodic sensibilities this group has displayed from the beginning. Last little thing. Other critics have highlighted the post-rock influence on the album, comparing the closing track, Deliverance, to This Will Destroy You, God is an Astronaut, for sure, and similar bands. So, yeah, there's all some good stuff there.
I mean, to me, I always felt Alcest really kind of fits in the post-rock general circle. So I don't think it's new of this album at all.
Yeah, hold on real quick. I just wanted to say something real quick. So, yeah, Miko Asma and Paul Masvidal, two polar opposites of human beings. One seems to be an absolutely engaging, loving human being that's given of himself a lot. I mean, he worked in AIDS clinics with dying people in the early 2000s for several years, helping people transition over. And the other guy is into torture porn. So what do you know? I mean, fuck that guy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping to meet Paul in a couple of weeks. Jimmy, do you, with your package that you bought, do you have like a VIP thing that you get to meet him, like an after show?
No, it wasn't a VIP. It was just a
okay.
upgrade.
I'm sure you'll get to meet him because they're apparently being very fan friendly. I just wanted to see something I saw.
I've met him before. He's a great guy.
Seems like a beautiful human being. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're all going to see him except Serge, maybe. Although Serge, Kevin Huffnagel's opening your show.
What was that?
Where are they playing? Fuck. Moulin Rouge? Is that a place in? I'll have to look it up. I think it's called the Moulin Rouge or something. I think
we're going to see it on Saturday.
It's
Guess who's opening?
It's a week night. What's that?
Silver Talon is opening here.
For your show?
Yeah.
You fucker. You're getting to see Silver Talon, Atheist, and Cynic?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're the opener.
Eat this, man.
I don't know how they got on. I don't even know.
I don't know if we're getting anybody special in Baltimore. It probably won't be anybody big, but yeah. Yeah, I saw some of the stuff. I'm sorry, the live footage of. I've been talking to Kelly on and off a little bit. Mario, why would you say that, man? I really don't understand that at all, man. Now, I have a relationship with him, a pretty deep friendship that's developed the last 6 months. I don't get that at all, dude. He is one of the most genuinely kind, true. He's like Paul, man. Kelly's a little bit more of a, straight shooter, I think, and a little less. Paul's ethereal. Paul's, just a sweetheart, and he's kind of out there a little bit. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? Cosmic, I guess, right? Kelly's a little bit more straight and narrow, but I mean, I guess you think he's weird. I don't know why you would think that, but I think he's fucking one of the coolest guys I've ever met. Very genuine human being. So, all right, we're going to move on here. Real quick for me, Wings, Atmos intro, Opal, whatever. Very uplifting, very beautiful song. That's a beautiful opening track. The Night Walks, very slow dive meets explosions. Radiohead, very cool melodic guitar lines. Jangly chords that ring out. The shimmering, gauzy ambient synths. Breathy, hanging chillness. Really killer track. I love that track. Was it you, Serge, that said the first 3 tracks?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 3 voices. Mellow until the chorus gets heavier, shimmery. This album's very shimmery, but all their albums are shimmery. But this one has an extra layer of shim on it. Let's put it that way. Very ear candy-ish, serene voices. I love that one. Wakening the Muses. That That's an 8-minute track that really should have been a 4-minute track. That one just goes on way too long for me. Shelter, very big shimmering Chris Isaac guitars, chords, then piano chiming. Really like that one. The Away track didn't do much for me at all. That Slow Dive guy didn't do much for me. And typically I kind of like guys like his vocals, but it didn't work for me. And then I think, frankly, Deliverance is probably the killer track. It's a great song, man. Just a killer song. Pretty killer ending track. Just builds and builds and builds and layers beautifully. I like the whole album, but it did sort of blur together and had a fair amount of sameness to it. But it was pleasant sameness. Enough that I enjoyed it all the way. Would I buy it? Like, would I just go out and buy this on Amazon tonight for $15? Probably not, to be blunt with you, because I'm not in that space right now with my listening. But if I saw it in a used shop for $6 or $7, oh yeah, I'd grab it. Yeah, 7.5 out of 10. I'm sorry, Jimmy. That one just didn't do it for me as much. So, all right, we're at Kodama. Pull you up here, Jimmy, and we'll get this wrapped up in 3 hours, I think, hopefully.
Yeah, so at the time I was like, this is, I was like anticipating this extremely. So I went all out and got the box set.
Oh boy.
I don't even know how much.
Oh my God. What the fuck?
Well, it was, yeah, I mean, like like I said, at the time, when this, and they had, let's see, it was only 2 years before Shelter and Kodama.
No, 16.
Yeah, but it was only 2 years in between.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I was just really anticipating. I mean, at this time, right before this was going to come out, is when I really became a huge fan, and I was just so into their entire discography. And so I don't know. I had wanted to treat myself at the time. I was like, even just like getting back into vinyl again. I mean, 16. So, yeah, I went all out. I don't even know how many of these made. I mean, they made of these, but it was kind of ridiculous. And I'm not really a box set kind of person, but I don't know. It's at the time I just went for it. And this thing is insane though. Prophecy does an amazing job. They give you like all these art prints, which I love the artwork on this record.
Wow. Yeah. It's killer. Really cool. It's based on Princess
Mononoke.
Mononoke. Yeah. Is
Is
that an anime or a video game or both?
Both. Well,
okay. Yeah.
I mean, anime first. Manga.
Anime.
First.
Okay. Right. I know Lauren loves this story.
It's anime.
What's that?
No, I'm just trying to remember. It's anime is the primary.
What did you get that from Prophecy or where'd you get that?
Yeah, this is it's Prophecy.
Man, dude, what did that set you back?
I don't even remember. It was a lot. It was like, it was like
100,
over 100.
Oh,
but you get a lot of stuff. I mean, like 3 vinyls. I mean,
wow.
There's one song on every side, and like the last 2, I'll just pull one of them out. Has the etching. I didn't even get the nicest one, but this is like the clear.
Oh wow!
See,
yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell. But,
no, you can see it. Well, were they limited? They were limited, I imagine.
Oh yeah, they only
a certain
made
number.
Like, I don't know how many they made. They did 3 different colors. There was the clear. There was like a marble.
I don't even remember seeing that, man. Never saw that.
Yeah,
in fact, this album I didn't actually pick up until like 17. I was kind of like, oh, look at that, they put out a new album.
And then it comes with the art book as well. And this thing
it came with the art book too.
Yeah, just like the others, it's full of
shit, dude. That's fucking rad.
I mean, so that's what I love about Prophecy. I mean, they really put a lot of attention into these box sets.
Who else is on that label?
Very, very cool.
Who else is on there? Does that have like the Ocean?
They have Imperium. They have a lot of like art kind of rock, art metal, and art rock type of bands. I don't really know too many of the bands on their roster other than Imperium. And there might be a couple. I think they re-released all the Arcturus stuff. I don't know. They've got
right. Yeah.
They've got a few. But yeah, I mean, like this was a while ago. I mean, like
that's gorgeous, man.
But yeah, it's like comes in a nice box and everything. I just like. I remember like when I bought this, I was just like, I don't care. I'm sure it's going to be good. So I'll just go for it. And they had just released the single.
Well, real quick before you get into a track by track, real quick. And Mario, I'm not picking on you, dude. I'm telling you right now, you got Kelly way wrong. He's seriously probably one of the nicest fucking dudes in metal I've ever met. He's such a sweetheart. That guy texts me every other couple weeks to see how I'm feeling, and You know, he just texted me the other day. He's like, dude, I can't wait to fucking meet you in Baltimore. You better be there, man. And I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be there. I'm getting really, really sick right now. And I'm just telling you, he's a beautiful guy. And Thrall's, I'm sorry, Nick's met him, was on with him. And so, anyways, that's it.
Yeah,
It sort of sounded like you were, I don't know. It's kind of weird, man. I didn't get that. So that's cool. If that's your perception, that's cool. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No worries. Yeah, Kelly rules, man. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I mean, everything I've seen from him, he's the best. But these are my two favorite art prints. That one's just so cool.
Oh yeah.
And this.
Now, is this actual? These aren't actual. Have you guys seen that Mononoke? Because I haven't.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay. They're not actual stills from the movie, right? They're actual this artist rendering.
I think they're just kind of influenced by that.
Yeah. Okay.
I could be wrong. I saw it so long ago.
Inspired by. You know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not
I just wasn't
a big anime guy, but like I've seen that, and there was Spirited Away. Both of those, I think, it was kind of
Spirited Away. I know my kid loves that. Yeah,
and it was really good.
That's
really
the same guy.
I think so. I think it is. I know those are the two like most praised like of that style, and I think that was kind of like.
Well, also as mentioned, Ghibli Studio. That's like like a legendary anime studio. And
is that what's the name of the studio, Serge?
Yeah. Ghibli.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, you know Lauren. Lauren loves this shit hardcore, and she would know everything about what we're talking about. I'm just not very up on it, you know. Anime, I'm one of those dudes that fucking anime creeps me the fuck out, man. It just creeps me out, man. The fucking faces that don't move with the mouths that don't. I'm like, tripping.
I mean, it depends. I'm picky with anime.
Yeah.
I like some of it, but not.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
And like the main cover art is really great too.
Yeah.
I mean, just that juxtaposition with the skeleton arms. Yeah, it's just so cool. I mean, I think that Nage had sort of an affinity for Japan.
He loves it.
And you know how like fans over in like countries like Japan or like South America are. There's like insanely rabid about their bands, and I'm sure when Alcest goes to Japan, they just get completely.
Goes the other way.
Swooned over, yeah. But yeah, man. I mean, like, it's kind of cool to see them going back to, their trademark sound. I guess. I mean, like, because I guess a lot of people were concerned after Shelter, are they not going to have a metal, aspect to the music anymore? But so this kind of brought it back. Great production. I think the Oisea de Prou was the first single. Which sounded great. But man, I mean, like overall, I really, really dig this record. I feel like really the pinnacle of it is the title track, of course, the first track. Amazing song. Just has everything that you want out of an Alcest song. That song has. I mean, it's as good as anything they've done.
Might be his best overall song. There's something about that. For me, it's got that don't.
Oh yeah,
that is so fucking. It drags you in when you hear that, and you're like, man. And it's it's 9 minutes long. Some of his songs I feel could do with a couple of sections trimmed a little bit, but this is not one of them. That song could go on another 10 minutes. I'd be into it. It's so cool.
And it's kind of got like the movements to it as well.
Yeah,
like if I was to compare.
Very proud.
I'd almost compare, and this is not a great comparison, but like for example, like Anesthetized by Porcupine Tree.
Yeah,
it has those movements. It kind of has movements like that, and it works really well.
Yep.
Like, and it's just really well written, and it's just got like all the things that you want out of an Alcest song, and just some of his best melodies, and that chorus you're talking about, like that fits. It sounds like a Japanese kind of song. Like it has those Japanese melodies that kind of feel like something you might hear out of there. So I mean that's really the pinnacle of the record. The rest of the record's good. It's just a good Alcest album. It's not I feel like maybe it would have benefited from maybe just one more song. Like it was a little shorter than I wanted it to be, like because like the last couple tracks are just kind of like there. Eclosion is great, very bright. I mean but it's got the it's interesting how, because it's such an uplifting song, but he really like pulls those shrieks out over it too. So it's kind of a weird juxtaposition to where like it doesn't sound dark at all. It's like, and then Oise de Peru is a great track as well. I just feel like it's the rest of it's just really good, solid Alcest. It's not. I wouldn't really say anything's bad about it. It's not my favorite.
Right.
It kind of marks like. What I especially love is the production. I love Winterhalter's drumming. When I saw them play on this tour, man, I don't know. It's just something when they opened up with the title track, and Winterhalter just sounded so good, man. Like he was just a solid drummer, man. Just really hits hard.
I'm 98% sure that when we saw them on this tour was it 18 or 19, Serge? Now I'm misremembering.
I think 18.
18, November of 18. I'm almost sure they played this song and they might have opened with it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Yeah, because I think anytime they were
very sure. Yeah.
When they were touring, they opened. I mean, they probably played
that melody, that melody, that do 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 do. It just is so. It's one of his best melodies that he's ever come up with, and it just grabs you, and you're like, oh, that is intoxicating. I remember that from the show.
And again, the movements in that song and just the way it flows, that's like Alcest could continue to just stay with their sound and not ever change. If they can write a great song like Kodama, then they really don't have to change much. I mean, they just, that's where it gets difficult with them is, hey, can they maintain that quality of songwriting and just, that flow that song has, for the rest of the record. I would overall say, yeah, and I agree, Logan. I know this is Logan's favorite. This is the one he likes. I mean, it is a really great record, and it's I feel like at this point, I hold those early records in such high regard. They're so important to me that it's hard for me to put it up there.
In there.
We're definitely at a point in their career where they're having, it's time to move forward and see what's going to be the next phases for this band, because really, if you think about it, when you compare them to some of the other great bands that I love, we're only 5 records in at this point, right? That's not a whole lot. And,
they're almost literally. When was the first one? 2004 or 1?
2000. Well, Souvenirs was 2007. So
no, but when was the demo? 2001, right?
The demo was 2001. So
you're talking. Alcest. He has been a band. 20 at this point in time it was 15 years. 5 albums, that's one every 3 years, I guess, right?
Yeah,
which is pretty spaced out, pretty sporadic.
They have a lot to say. I hope they have a lot to say going forward, and of course this is still, we're still
have one more.
Man, it's a solid record, man. It doesn't quite it definitely doesn't go above the trilogy. For me, it doesn't have all the real extreme goose flesh that I get from those. It's just solid Alcest record with some great moments. And man, it was great seeing them live on the 2 tours I saw on this one, because they just sounded so good live.
Who did they play with again? Who you said play with them?
Shit, man. Those 2 times on that tour, it was just, I think The Body was one of the tours. And
I think Logan mentioned that.
Yeah, earlier. I think it was The Body, and then there was, I don't remember the second tour I saw. I don't remember, but what I do remember is they did Ocean Scales Part 2, and they did the last track on Ocean Scales. The acoustic, really just beautiful song. They did that. He just went up there by himself and did it, and it was amazing.
There's a cool video out there, which I'm not going to pull up, but if people want to look for it, there's a cool video of Nij and Zero in some LA record store or somewhere, a bar it looks like even, and they're just playing acoustics. And I don't know what songs they're doing, but they do about 12 minutes of acoustics, and it's pretty fucking cool stuff, man. The 2 of them singing, no effects, no nothing. Pretty good, man. I was pretty surprised. Look it up out there real quick. I feel Jeff's talking about TV anime. Now, you know what it is, man? And I don't know if you guys were old enough to remember this. You probably weren't. But in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, there was a show called Speed Racer. Did you guys ever see that?
I think we all know what Speed Racer is.
All right, I didn't know if you saw it. But they never had fucking mouths. They just would have these, and it was just so weird, man. That shit creeped me out, man. Ultraman, all that bizarre stuff. I've not seen Akira, man. No, I have not. Sorry, dude.
Akira's a classic, man. Akira, Ghost in the Shell. That was like the '90s anime. That was
Ghost in the Shell, right?
Cool too.
Oh, that's gorgeous, man.
Yeah, the artwork was stellar on this. They really.
I imagine they're all sold out now, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, I bought this. I pre-ordered this, in 2000.
7 years ago.
16. So I'd have to look up and see how many they did. Let's see while y'all are talking. But,
Yeah,
man,
we were talking
great
about
record, man.
Ghost of Fury earlier. Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap up some comments here real quick, and we'll get finished up. Got to bail. You're a youngster, man. You got to bail out at 10:30. Just kidding. Akira is the GOAT. All right, so Jimmy, did you have any last tie-ups on that one?
This was 200 pieces, and they did 3 different variants, so 600.
600 total. Okay, wow. That's pretty ambitious actually for that big a set like that. Yeah. I bet you did you ever look them up on Discog, see what they're going for?
Oh shit, I'm sure.
I bet you it's $400 or $500. That's why I buy all those box sets. That's one I missed out on.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, something I usually go for, but it's a band you really love. It's like, why not? The quality.
My early.
Well done, man.
Yeah, that's killer. My early Steve Wilson ones are pretty. The problem with PT and Steve Wilson is they milk that thing to the bone. No pun intended.
To the bone.
You saw what I did there, right?
Nice.
That's cool, man. That's gorgeous. All right, Serge, what you got on Kodama?
Well, again, this is the album I came in on, so obviously special to me. I mean, Kodama opening a song is immediately hits you, and if you don't know the band, like it'll hit you. Like either you fall in love immediately, or you're just not going to get Alcest, I think. And this, by the way, I think is the first album where they had the bass, Sarai.
I think you're right. Yep.
Yeah, he participated in the actual recording, so that helps. I mean, it's a little heavier compared to a previous album, so it hits you. And that track is so cool. It's just like great dynamics, like interesting moments. Jimmy mentioned like goosebumps, right? Like I live for goosebumps in music. That's I feel like I'm always on this quest to find music that will give me goosebumps.
Me too.
It's hard. It's not
really
easy,
hard.
But man, it's when you find it, it's fucking amazing. Occlusion, man. You mentioned this is like one of the happiest tracks I've ever heard with like black metal vocals. It's a funny kind of contrast, but it works. It's very cool, like light and heavy moments on there. Je suis de l'heure, very very spiritual track for me. Again, like even with black metal vocals, it feels spiritual. It feels, like you're more connected to it. It's not doesn't feel similar to what I hear from the rest of black metal for the most part. Untouched has a very soaring feel, and then Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
I re-listen. I kind of decided to take it like very literally. So I just, I listened to a track and it felt like, okay, you start out floating like, like they see like vultures soaring on thermals to get up there, and then once it gets in that more frantic section, you can almost feel like, it gets into that chase mode where it's like, okay, it finds its prey, and then perhaps rips it apart where like the black metal vocals come
Damn,
in.
listen, you go, man.
I mean, it's again
natural selection.
That's a little bit probably too literal, but it works for me. I don't know. And then Onyx was kind of a cool track. I think if you listen to it in headphones, there's you pick up that like subtle nuance. I thought that was kind of cool.
It's almost a black gaze drone song.
Yeah, it's very much a drone.
Very cool.
kind of thing, ambient.
Very unusual for them. Not
yeah.
their
But
normal
I dug it because it has that little bit of nuance.
Yeah.
And again, I really encourage to listen to that on headphones and just kind of focus on it. But yeah, I mean, this is a 10 for me. It's it's where I came in on, but it's a fantastic album.
Yeah, for me, well, let me do a couple quick notes here. I don't know if I said it. It's released September 30th, 2016 via Prophecy. It's an album, a concept album about the confrontation of the natural world and the human world, inspired by Hayao Miyazaki's. Yeah, whatever. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, fuck. I should just go back to this here. There we go. Kodama was also, needing to go for something more punchy. Oh, Nij. Musically, the album has returned to the band's earlier black gaze style due to Nij's feeling that he needed to go for something more punchy, darker, and more personal. Kodama is also the first Alcest album to feature Indria Saray performing on bass. There you go. Though he has played with the band live since 2010. According to Winterhalter, in the end, it was a 3-year writing process in addition to 3 months of recording and mixing, with Nij beginning writing almost immediately after returning from recording Shelter in Iceland. Untouched was the first song written for this album, followed by the title track, Kodama. These two songs, especially Kodama, kind of forged the sound of the whole album. Through them, I could foresee the album's shape and identity in the further direction I wanted to take it. The rest of the album. Nij has said that the album is heavily influenced. Well, we already did that. Human and natural conflict world. So yeah, Kodama, man, has a very epic vibe to it. The song is super soaring. The vocals and guitars are a little bit darker and heavier. At 5 minutes, it breaks down and has this fairly cool building, epic sounding thing with ebos. Reminds me a bit of Beings of Light, and that do 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 is just, it's just so fucking cool, man. That's my favorite part of maybe any Alcest song ever. I love that melody is just so fucking killer, man. And it's not metal at all. It's very pop, but it's so good. It's like, wow. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just 5 notes the way he's playing it, on probably on the synth, or maybe on the guitar. I don't think it's a guitar. It sounds more like a synth thing. Ecolusion, down tempo beginning and plotting, but always pretty and breathy, and the screams return forcefully. Solid tracks and cool guitar runs, but nothing really new here. I Am From Elsewhere, solid track, but probably my least favorite song on the album, although has some of the most adventurous drumming to my ears during the choral sections where they kick the tempo way up, and the shrieks are pretty harrowing on this. Untouched sounds a lot like all the other more upbeat post-rock songs that he's done. I'd say Alcest by numbers, but I really like the track. Birds of Prey, around 4 minutes 40 seconds, it gets quiet. Has a bit of a call and response, delayed swell and vocal thing going on. That's very different for them. Then it gets into a faster tempo, chordal ringing thing, which is common for them. Bit reminiscent of Beings of Light. Builds, has washy cleans and distortion. It's nothing new, but it's a fucking killer track. And then Onyx, washy ambient synth and guitar washes of fuzzed out gauziness and melancholia. Kind of reminds me of Christian Finesse or Tim Hecker. I don't know if you know those guys. They use the guitar to make these really washy, like sort of spacey sort of things. Really cool shit. Solid return. Back to a bit of a metal album. I put it in the first third of the albums. Really good tunes, a lot of stuff we've kind of heard before, but that's kind of how it is. There's this is an interesting note from Grapes of Wrath. What's the name of that IG thing with the hot chick on it, Jimmy? What's her name?
What?
Vinyl Grape Vinyl.
Oh,
Grape Vinyl. Okay. Never mind. She's cute. She's a cute lady. That's all. She's married, so I get it. It's cool. Sorry, I didn't want to come across as a hedonistic. Serge knows, though. I've got my issues. Anyway. Alcest seemed to be heading off in a new direction with Shelter seemed to be heading off in a new direction with Shelter. But Kodama brings them back into the black gaze territory. Let's face it, Alcest, this is a really key thing. Alcest are in a tricky place when it comes to their sound. Too metal for the shoegaze fans and too mellow for the black metal fans. Looks like Shelter didn't give them the new fan base they wanted, so they brought back the occasional raspy wails and a more metal-based sound. That's cool, but I find the riffs and melodies have a predictable ring to them. They kind of do. Despite the length of these tunes, they aren't all that adventurous. Escape, whatever, de Lune. Now, that was an adventurous album. To me, Kodama feels like a retreat to recapture the sound on those earlier albums, but the rather bland chord progressions of Shelter are still there, just heavier. I'm going an 8 out of 10 on this album. I really like some of it. I love some of it. But there's a couple songs like Untouched. It's just okay. It's kind of weak. It's almost like they were trying to get a hit single with that song. And Echollusion, I like it, but I don't love it. So I still, maybe I need to go back and, it has been a while since I listened to this, since I listened to it last night. I was like, oh, this is kind of how I remember it. Really good, but not, I don't think, in the league with my 2 top picks. So we'll wrap up with that. Anybody got any final sort of thoughts on the whole thing, and then we'll rank them quick. Yes, you're ranking them, Serge.
Oh,
like it or not, I'm not letting you out of
here.
You
got to do Spiritual Instinct.
Yeah, we got one more album.
Shoot, we got.
Yeah.
Sorry. Moving on. All right, Jimmy.
All right. So Spiritual Instinct, they left Prophecy, which I was a little bummed about, and signed with Nuclear Blast.
Yeah.
Which I've got like mixed emotions on Nuclear Blast. They've got a great history for sure, but it's like I was a little concerned. I guess it was a good thing for them, because it's going to probably give them a lot more distribution, a lot more. Prophecy is still pretty, I think they've got really good distribution as well, but they're still kind of not as well known label,
like an indie label, yeah.
And so Nuclear Blast kind of exposes them, but at the same time, Nuclear Blast, they're churning out artists, and I'm just a little concerned that they're going to get kind of forgotten a bit, and I just don't feel that they don't really fit the aesthetic of Nuclear Blast, and I think Nuclear Blast is they're trying to embody everything at this point. They're become the definitive metal label again. I still like Nuclear Blast, and I've got a lot of historical love for them, but it just did not feel like a match made in heaven, and I think a lot of people were concerned, what does this mean for the future of the band? Are they going to go? I never thought that. I never thought they were going to really compromise their vision or anything like that. But the one thing I was worried about was the quality of the physical. Having got my Kodama box set and all my nice hardcover books and everything. Yeah. But I gotta say, Nuclear Blast stepped up and did a beautiful job on the release of this, and they did a nice expansive box set, which I was not gonna jump on the money, but they had a mid-tier level deal that I got the ear book, and this is very nice, actually, very nicely done. I think it kind of fits the quality of the band. Really nice hardcover book. Just like the CD hardcovers, it's kind of like a vinyl hardcover, but it's got a lot of detail, a lot of extra artwork. I think that they met the challenge when it comes to trying to do what Prophecy did for this band. So a lot of cool stuff. And this came with the vinyl sleeve. It also came with 2 CDs, and the second CD has a bunch of remixes. So kind of cool, the mid tier. I didn't want to go crazy on the big giant box. So we're not going to get, unfortunately, I would have liked to have had the hardcover CD of every single record, which they haven't done the Shelter one yet, but that'll probably come for the 10-year anniversary. But anyway, Spiritual Instinct.
2029. Cool.
Yeah. I was really excited to see where they're going to go, because I felt like Kodama is like a, while it's a great record and I love it, it felt like it's kind of a, not a transitional record, but just like, okay, where's the band going to go from here? Because, maybe they've kind of liked, again, like I've said before, I mean, they can continue to keep the same sound as long as they're writing good songs, so, and this was going to be the test, I think. So, so I don't know, interesting record, man. I mean, I definitely like it. I think it's very well produced. It sounds really great. Good performance. To me, like when I first heard it, I was like, man, this is like Alcest arena rock. Like that was the first thing I could
Yeah. Indie rock.
It just sounds really big, really, really produced, really it's not like, I mean, like, it follows a similar template in that, like, there's some songs that are kind of shorter. There's a couple of, more epic tracks. But I don't know. It just kind of felt like they, it definitely has the Alcest sound, but it almost felt like these songs were written for them to. It feels to me like these songs were written for them to be performed live.
Yeah,
and I never ever felt that about any Alcest record before. Like it was always felt like a studio band, that wasn't really care about what it would sound like. This to me felt like that was the intention, that these are going to be like big songs on the big arenas. You know what I mean? That's what it is, man. Alcest arena rock is Spiritual Instinct. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. I will say that like the first 3 tracks right off the bat are great. I mean, I love the first song. I love when they go into the black metal parts, and his black metal scream is as good as ever in that, and as effective as ever.
Yeah, big time.
Big time. Yeah, Protection.
It almost harkens back to the fucking demos. Almost. It's so savage.
Very savage, and sounds really powerful, really great. I mean, just performance-wise, it's just right on top. Protection and Sapphire as well. Great songs, just good vibe. I feel like the second half of the record kind of, it's top heavy. This album.
Yes.
The second half, while good, I think L'Odeur Morts, La Mure, and Spiritual Instinct. I mean, those songs are just kind of like there for me. Though Spiritual Instinct, I feel like it does kind of it finds its place like halfway through the song, because that's kind of like the big epic of the song of the album. But it just kind of misses the mark a little bit for me. It's just kind of at this point like it's just not as strong as what they've done before, and that goes back to saying like how good are their songs going to be written.
Right.
Maybe and it's a little shorter than I want. If the record was a little more well-rounded by the second half, that I'd been fine with the length, because it's like going back to almost like Souvenirs length, 6 tracks,
Yes.
Cool. But it's just, I would say it's definitely probably my least favorite album at this point, but it's still a good record. And every time I listen to it, I'm like, man, this is really good. But by the end of it, it's just not. I still like it. It's just, man, I guess I hold this band in such high regard, and I have, how it is when you just have such high expectations.
You have expectations, man.
They set the bar high. So again, this is always the thing with bands we love.
It's unfair,
and it's unfair because it's so hard to live up to those expectations.
Oh yeah, and so
you gotta try to put yourself in the position of, in this case, Niche, who writes the lion's share of everything.
Yeah.
He's, as a guitar player, you play bass, you play drums, so you play instruments. It's really hard to come up. So you don't usually find a lot of drummers that are writing the songs, right? And bassists, you do. There's the Steve Harrises and the Geddy Lees and stuff like that, because their bassists are usually more good bassists, are usually guitar players that just didn't want to give up the extra 2 strings. They wanted the glory of doing the solo thing, right? But it's hard, man, to come up with stuff year after year after year that doesn't repeat and still forges ahead. That's why, I'm going to get my gratuitous Rush mention in here. Rush kind of progressed. Pretty much every album is a progression. Not all of it do I like, but and we've done that thing to death, but they've kind of embraced a lot of different sounds, from doing the reggae Police thing to the real heavy synth thing to the pop thing on, and the problem, as I mentioned with Niche and this band, is that their fan base has kind of got them locked into a point. If they don't do something heavy, then the black metal people are like, this is a wimpy ass pop dream pop band. If they do the heavy stuff, the dream pop people are like, I really like it, but I hate those vocals, that kind of thing. So he's really in a difficult position to.
Well, and that's the thing, because I really don't want to think that Nage gives a shit about that. I really want to believe that he's just gonna.
Yeah, I don't feel like, at least it doesn't come off like it does. So.
No, but what I'm getting at, I didn't explain it well. What I'm getting at more is the fact that to constantly come up with material that is in your wheelhouse, what you're hearing in your head, isn't always easy, man. A lot of times it's
I would say it's never easy.
And it's often very much a product of what you are listening to too. So if you're and he listens to a lot of, the Sugar Cubes and what's her name, Bjork, and a lot of slow, these bands that you wouldn't expect, being a black metal dude, that he's really not a black metal dude. That's the reality of it. He accentuates some of his songs with it, but he's really not a black metal guy at all, and he's not like the dudes in Mayhem or Necro Butcher or something, you know what I mean? He's like, or he's more like an Ivar Bjornsson, you know what I mean, as far as a creator that's has a certain sound he wants to hear and see and produce, but he's always kind of trying to move the pegs around a little bit. So,
well, and that's the thing. It's still a good record for sure. I mean, even at my least favorite, I still enjoy it. It's just, and it's interesting because it's it's a very accessible Alcest record. It's
very much so, yeah.
But it's just, I think at this point in the career, I'm very, very excited to see what's going to happen on this. I know they're in the studio right now. They're getting ready to finish, I think. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to do next, because I feel like a little bit of a shakeup is kind of, due. Like, I think that they could, or if they just come back with their normal sound and just write some great songs, I'll be happy with that too. But I'm just, I'm overall just interested. I don't want to say, oh, they should go this way or that way or whatever. But yeah, I just it's very difficult for a band that had such amazing output for so long. And, a lot of their fans fucking think this album is a 10 out of 10. I felt like I was in the minority. When I go look up reviews and their Instagram and their social media.
Rate your music. It's 3.59, which is a pretty good album. I don't know, man. For me, well, Serge is next. Go ahead, Serge.
I think that's what Jimmy said is generally true. It does feel a little bit more accessible. I actually think Sapphire is kind of almost a radio single.
When you're saying accessible, you mean commercial, right?
Well,
more or less.
Just for an average person, I guess it's that song is almost danceable. As far as Alcest goes, anyway, right? But I still, it's still a great album to me. I think all the songs are good. It's a little heavier than the previous album, I think. My personal favorite is The Mirror. I don't know, something about that song, strikes me.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I think that's talking about Goosebumps. That was the one song on this album that kind of hit me a little bit. So again, it's hard to generate those moments. But that said, it's this is an album I'd still be happy to put on and listen to. So it's still an 8 for me. So
what'd you give it?
8.
8?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when this came out, and I was talking to Comiskey a lot about it. We were going back and forth, and I heard what you guys hear, a more commercial sort of sound. And by that I mean there's a little less of the shoegazy shimmer and etherealness, and a little bit more straight ahead sort of rock songs. And something I heard from him that I've never really heard is the octave thing. You may not hear it, but can you hear that?
Yeah. Well, a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so he's doing the octave thing, which I'd never really heard him do octave bar chords. He always played a lot of, or not bar chords, but octave chords, like in fifths and thirds and stuff like that. And it's kind of weird because that's just not his style. He's more of a dude that plays these open chimey notes and chords and stuff like that. So, but I like it. I like the album. I don't love it, and it's one of those ones where when I first listened to it online, it was one of those things where I was like, "Oh, man, all right, do I need this? Am I really that into it?" Like, and I went back to it a couple times once it came out, and that was 19, right? 19, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me look at one thing here. October 19. Now, there's a little bit of in all honesty, there was something going on in my life that was not. I was going through severe drug withdrawal at that point from that shit I was put on. And it ripped me up. Like right around then, September, October. I remember getting Incauda Venenum in September. That came out. And you know what? I still have a tough time listening to that album. Even though a lot of people feel it's their best prog album, right? But I struggle with it because
I thought you liked that.
What's that?
I thought you liked that one.
I do like it. But what I'm getting at is I was going through a really hellacious time, man. Really, really sick from drug withdrawal. And it really, it was a prescribed drug. But I struggled through that. And this came out literally a month after. And I couldn't really listen to music, man. I came into this much later because I just felt so disconnected from music. But listening to it here, there's some good songs on it. Again, it's a little more of a rock thing. Sapphire is a great, great tune. The Isle of the Dead is that one kind of meanders a little bit and could have been about a 5 or 6 minute song. The Mirror is really good, Serge. Yeah, that's probably my favorite track on the album. It's good. I like it. Midnight Gardens. Cool intro. Almost seemed like a heavier side to the band was coming out. Not so much. There's pronounced cleans on it. The pronounced clean highs sound like Zero because he's got that. He does the real highs live, right, Jimmy? I'm pretty sure he does, right? Doesn't he do the real?
I think so. Yeah,
like the real falsetto-y type stuff.
Yeah, he's kind of like Alcest, John Wesley.
Yeah, right. And the guitar's really cool on it. Protection was the lead-off single, I think, wasn't it, or was it Sapphire?
I think it was Sapphire, but they did Protection like not long after that.
Okay.
Sapphire, I think, was the first.
That one is possibly the heaviest track that they've done.
Yeah.
It's really heavy. It has some really good post.
Not just heavier, it's faster in terms of like BPM.
Yeah, like almost like they were writing it to be in that, okay, we're a nuclear blast band. We got to put something super heavy out, But it's good. And then Demort's heavier track, darker riffing, heavy distortion on that one, kind of formulaic. Overall, I give this a 7.5. I like it. I don't love it. It's a solid album. I don't know where they're going to go. Like, I just don't know what he's going to do. If, like all artists,
Really a rap album.
What's that? A rap album? Well, that would be tough.
It's like rap gaze. Yeah,
Rap gaze. There's got to be a genre like that, right?
I'm sure, man. Well, he'll create it.
Rick, you're mastering the kazoo? That's weird. I thought you told me you were mastering the skin flute last night. Oh, but anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the thing that needs is in that sort of thing where it's like you got to make the music for you. Like Steve Wilson always said, man, I make these albums for me. If I lose some fans on the way, oh well, that's how it goes. Like I'm going to gain some other fans somewhere else. And we know, Jimmy, the three of us did the Steve Wilson thing, and I shit all over that last album because all the bonus tracks were way better and would have made a better album. But it just happens. And now they're talking about this new 64-minute one-track harmony codex thing that's I guess the big new thing. Save your pennies, boys. Going to be a big box set coming out of that one, I can tell. Triple Blu-ray, whatever.
Right. And all the good music is going to be on the version you can't get,
Actually,
edition of one, right?
That's a cool name right there you just brought up. Dalek. That is a really fucking cool rap band. That's the only rap I really like. That's, nice call. But yeah, so where we go from here, I don't know. I mean, he's put out a lot of really, really stellar albums. Some that are very good. He really hasn't put out a bad album. I guess my only criticism of the catalog as a whole is that it has a bit of an identity that's hard. It's hard to differentiate tracks sometimes. If I listen to these albums 15 times in a row, then I'd probably be able to go, oh yeah, that's Beings of Light, or that's, whatever, Iron Colored Sea or whatever. But I don't find that when I put this on, I'm like compelled to put it back on. I don't know about you guys. How's that work for you? When I'm in it, I'm totally digging it and loving it. But when I'm done, I'm like, okay, I'll put something else on. Does that make any sense?
But I think of any music, I don't want to like overdose on it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is to tie into that is that when you have at your fingertips all the music in the world, technically speaking, not all, but a lot of it, the one thing I find about social media and this and Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff is, man, it fucking makes my ADHD so much worse.
For sure.
I was not like this. I was always ADHD. Serge will tell you that. He'll fess up and say, yeah, Jeff's always been an excitable cat. You get him in a concert, he's, Energizer Bunny Rabbit. But man, I struggle so bad now to just stay locked in and go, all right, you must listen to this album and listen carefully to it. Very hard for me to do. Hate to admit that.
It's also hard to have time for it. But
what's that?
It's also hard to have time for it.
Yeah, well, for you guys,
adult,
with jobs and things like that, and wives and kids, in your case, Serge. I mean, I have kids, but I have a lot more time. But it's a struggle, man. And assuming I'm well enough to do it, next Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday, I'm doing 22 albums with Cloudy Milder. 22 albums. I literally have to get done with this tonight and go, all right, get 2 a day done.
Good luck.
What band?
Magnum.
Okay.
Yeah. UK proggy pomp rock band. Really good band that a lot of people don't know, but, they go back to shit. I think their first album came out in 78 or 79. And it's kind of like, it's very British Rush, but not as technical. A little more straightforward verse chorus type stuff, less technical wizardry on the guitar and the keyboards, but very good, very, very, very hooky, great vocals, really good guitar. I'll send you a link to one, Jimmy. Might maybe check a track.
That's what's hard about these deep dives is it's like you feel like you want to spend the time really hard on the record, so you can't, a lot of records you can't just listen to it once and develop your own opinion on it. Some things you have to listen to a whole lot,
Yeah.
Even at that, like, I don't know if, like, with Alcest, I don't really, in the years that I've been into the band, I don't really pull them very often because I feel like I need to pull them. Well, I feel like I'll pull them when I need them. You know what I mean? Like, even like preparing for this deep dive, like I already knew the music good enough. There were like certain tracks that I felt the need to skip over because I just didn't want to go there because they're so emotional for me that I felt like I don't want to spoil the song right now. I want to go to it when I need it. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
But then there's so much shit. It's not like when we were kids, like where you would get into a record, and you just listen to it over and over and over and over again. I don't have any record like in years right now that I've listened to more than like 5 times. I feel like,
Well, that's
if I really liked it.
That's the thing with this, the ADHD thing, where it's like, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, I kind of miss the days where you just went to the record store and you saw that album, and maybe you saw something in a magazine a couple weeks before it came out or 2 weeks before it came out, and you went and you didn't know what it was going to sound like. You looked at the artwork, you appreciated it, and you're like, oh, I think this is gonna rule, and then you open it up, you put it on, and generally it did, or if it didn't, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
now I gotta think.
that was something that was kind of special, although
Yeah.
it didn't always rule when you actually put it on.
No, I get that. I mean,
there were some duds.
There was a hit. There was a hit and miss ratio, but I would say honestly, my hits were way outweighed my misses, and now you don't even like.
Yeah, but I don't think you have that special.
It's not. Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah.
That you did back then.
I know I sound like an old man, and I am, but I got to be honest with you, man. That makes me sad, man, because I remember slogging, doing a couple lawns to go over to the local record shop here in town and buy 2 albums at $7 a piece. $15 for a kid, man, that was a lot of money in 1982 or 78 or whatever. And it was just like, now you just this is okay. I'm going to move on to the next thing. It's just kind of a bummer. It's kind of a bummer. And I feel like this album in particular, I'm tying it all together here. This album I suffered with that a lot with this album. And quite frankly, everything since 17, 18, 19 on. I'm just like inundated with stuff. And it's so weird when I go back and make myself listen. It gets very emotional, man. There's some albums I've listened to and I've just.
Well, that's also kind of a product of like growing up. You know what I mean? Like I think everybody. I bet I would be willing to bet maybe I don't know. Maybe it's not the same for kids growing up today. Like that's waiting to go get the record. Like Rick.
I'll see how it can be.
Yeah, it can't be the same, but at least we had that, and we can still remember what that was like, and hopefully try to apply that to records these days. Every now and then I get a record that does that for me, and or there's a record I'm really looking forward to, like a band, like I'm really anticipating the next Alcest record. I'm really excited to see where they're going to go. I mean, and it's not going to be the same as it was when I was a kid and I, went, same as you. I'd cut grass and I'd go to the Camelot and buy a cassette tape, and be able to listen to Def Leppard for have the whole record.
And that was like that was like a religious experience, man. It was just like, oh, this is I'm so glad to be alive. This is just so cool, and it's like. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but all right. So, let's rank them real fast. Where are we at? Was there 6 or 7? We'll leave the EP out.
Man,
come on, Serge.
I can't. I don't know.
Yeah, you can. You can do it.
It's very difficult.
He's like,
it's almost like you'd have to just make a
choosing your favorite kids. But Serge, you only have one kid, so choose number 6.
What are we going from top to bottom, or
we're going least favorite to favorite. No one's going to die as a result.
Can we count the trilogy as one record?
No, we cannot. Nice try, though.
Because that's where I have an impossible.
All right, Jimmy. I'm going to give Serge another minute. He's struggling so hard.
I would go backwards from 6, least favorite, Spiritual Instinct, 5, Kodama, 4, Shelter. And then the first 3 records, if I had to choose right now, I would go with the Callous de Lune 3rd, Souvenirs 2nd. No. The Voyages, no.
1 and 1A.
I would probably go with Souvenirs 2nd, La Voyages number 1. Because La Voyages is just, man.
All right, Serge, I'll let you go last.
I really can't pick from that. I consider that trilogy like all one entity. I can't really pick between those 3, but if I had to do it right now, that's what I would say.
I'm going Spiritual, Shelter, Souvenirs, Kodama, Les Voyages, and La Lune, or De Lune, whatever, Moon Scales. All right, Serge, you're not getting out of here without doing it, man.
All right.
You want to go to bed, so get this over with.
Yeah, I do need to go. All right, I'll say 6 is Spiritual, Souvenirs 5, Shelter 4.
That's where it gets tough.
Moon Scales
Wow.
3. Voyage 2 and a Kodama 1.
All right. Good deal. Nice. Well, listen, thanks for doing this with me, guys. Love you guys. You guys are the best. And Jimmy, you didn't cry. I almost did, but you didn't. And super cool that we got this one in. I think for future stuff, I have a couple things planned, but I'm really not sure where the things are going to go. I don't want to get emotional, so I'm not going to go too deep here, but because things are not good for me right now. And so I don't know. This Saturday I'm supposed to do a cool electronic thing, which I didn't invite you, Serge, and I don't know why I didn't invite you, but you probably can't do it anyways. But if you want in, you can be in. If I'm doing it, we're doing the Electric Meditation series first episode. We all picked 5 albums that are not metal, not rock, not country, not jazz. They're electronica, dark ambient, krautrock, EDM, IDM. Shit. Like there's a couple other weird dark drone, that kind of stuff. Experimental noise. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that on Saturday. Kellen is going to be there from Killing for Company. Brian is coming out of retirement. We've not seen Brian on a stream for a while, or at least with me. Brian is going to come out of retirement and do this one with me. And I may see if other people want to jump in. 5 albums. Max.
When are you doing this?
Saturday night, 9:00.
I mean, that sounds cool. I don't know. I might.
Well, let me know. Just let me know if you want to
jump on that.
Yeah. And you can kind of, if you're pressed for time, we can, I want to try to keep it in the 2-hour range, maybe, but we'll see. So you're picking 5 albums. I need to know the 5 albums ahead of time, though, so we don't overlap. I want to have, if there's 4 of us, 20 different albums. Jimmy, I know you're probably going to be out on a hike, so.
I'll actually be at Cynic Atheist on Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, dude. You gotta hit me up.
I will.
Send me some pics. Send me some shit.
Send you some pics, yeah.
I will tell Kelly to look out for you. So
for sure. If I see him, I'll definitely introduce myself.
Let him know we're tight. Let him know we're tight, and he'll fucking treat you right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm praying I can make it to the 7th. I don't know, and I don't know if you guys noticed it at all, but I'm having a lot of cognitive trouble today, and I'm noticing that I'm all numb in my face right here, and I'm starting to drool. It's not a good sign. So anyway, that's what's planned, and then the Magnum thing with Cloudy Milder on Saturday the 1st, or Sunday the 1st. I'm sorry, Sunday the 2nd. Beyond that, I don't have much planned because I'm not really sure I want to put myself out there. I do want to try to do an Anathema deep dive, which I know both you guys love Anathema. So I know your time is valuable and it's a tough one. So we'll have to see if we can figure that out. I am probably going to have Derek from 2 Mold on for that one. And,
right. He's a big Anathema fan. Huh?
What's that?
He's a big
Anathema fan. Yeah,
but then he did finish that stream, by the way.
Which would be super duper cool. So, and I may have 1 or 2 other people. We'll see. But other than that, I think, one last thing. Next Tuesday, if I make it there. And I know I say that, and all you guys watching are probably like, what is this guy with the drama and the drama? Trust me, man. Shit is fucking grim. But if I make it to next Tuesday and don't end up in the hospital here in the next day or so, I'm gonna actually be doing a weird but very cool interview. Do you guys know Virgin Steel? Do you know Virgin Steel, Jimmy? Noble Savage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So David DeFeese, the singer and keyboard player and writer of all the music, he's gonna come on. We're gonna talk about the new album that he's doing and go back into history a little bit. We'll see how that fleshes out. But those are the only things I've got kind of on the docket. So let you get out of here, guys, because I know you got better shit to do. Thanks to We had a solid bunch of guys in here tonight. Nick, I think I'm going to do an after stream if you want to jump on. I think Logan's going to jump on. And Rick, if you're out there, you want to jump on for an hour or so. Not going to be a long one, just a hang.
I'll stick around for a bit too, man.
You want to stick around a little bit? Okay. I'm going to do a separate stream, though. I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah.
Serge, man, I love you, buddy. I hope everything's – I know you're struggling through a lot, bro. And
Yeah.
I feel for you, man.
I appreciate
You know I love you deeply, bud. We've been friends for a very long time, and I know you and your wife and your child are really going through a rough time. So just, man, I wish I knew what to say to help you.
I mean, look, it's okay. I appreciate it. You know, there's nothing you can say. You know what I mean?
No.
But it was cool doing this with all you.
It's good to hang, Serge. It's really good to see you again, man.
All right, man. Thanks to everybody who was in here. We may have an after stream in about 5 minutes or so, and I'll send links out to Rick and Jimmy and some of the other dudes. And Wade, you should join us, man. I think Logan's going to join us for a little bit too. So Nate, you're invited too. You got to hit me up on you guys that are lurkers, man. Hit me up on Instagram. So guys, thank you so much. Love you, dudes. Hang on one sec.